Oh, it doesn't look too good. It's
Good.
not looking
Good
good.
evening and welcome to the Finance and Advisory Board meeting of March 20th. Call the meeting to order at 7:05.
Yep, that would be the time.
Yep.
Close enough.
Rob, do you want to call the school committee meeting to order?
Like to call the meeting to order, school committee?
We have five.
They have three here right now.
Three of us.
Right, but there'll be
Andy
someone else
coming.
becomes that
Andy
way.
coming.
All right, great. All righty, just to sum it up before we go, before you folks start, we had asked your department to give us three baseline numbers for the the February 9th meeting, and that number included what was for the salaries, including contract adjustments, what was for your expenses, and for what your total special education number was. If you turn to tab D in the school committee budget book, the last page in tab D has the budget proposal summary. If you look at their number of 13,189,893, that is equal to the number that they did give us previously that we had plugged in. Hi, Ann, welcome. That we had that Mike had plugged in
Yeah.
to for our numbers. Now, right now, we don't have our updated sheets. We're waiting for Mike to come up and give us after our March 9th meeting of all the other adjustments and stuff
okay.
like that. So I just want to make it clear that the original number you gave us is what you're
correct.
presenting to us tonight.
That is correct.
And that's pretty much it. And
Okay.
take it away.
Well, what's the best way for us to do this? I mean, we tried to give you the budget book in advance, so you'd have a chance to walk through. We can certainly go through quickly, and you can ask any questions under each tab if that's what you want to do, or do you want to ask us questions, and we can give you a few summary.
I have a question, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
No.
I just wanted you guys to go through the special ed.
Okay.
Because I see that you still have the same children in the system, obviously, that you needed the 250
That's
for.
correct.
But you kept the 250. How much did you get from for the circuit breaker? It wasn't much, I know, but.
There's a tab for circuit breaker.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, well, it's not for circuit breaker, it's for special ed, M.
M?
We'll go to tab M.
Is it Mary?
M is in
Okay,
Mary.
okay.
And it's on the third page. So it's a breakdown of, at the top is a breakdown of our projected tuition and transportation on the right-hand side for FY 214. And then underneath is, it's a round figure because they haven't come out with the exact figure that they're going to use by the state for the base, the threshold. And then we did go with the 72% reimbursement we received this year.
Oh, okay.
Not sure, we haven't heard any numbers from the state yet, if it will be 72%.
It's always an estimate this early.
Right, a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
though, the whole state received 38%.
I
So
remember
that's
that.
huge.
Remember
So if they
that
decide
year?
to balance the budget on that.
Yeah.
I don't think,
We've budgeted
I don't
72.
think so. I haven't heard anything
Right.
through the business manager's listserv that circuit breaker would be an area that they would touch. But, you don't know what the feds do, and then it trickles down to
And the
state.
governor presented his budget, and that was one of when he talked about supporting education, that was one of the things he talked about protecting, because he knows of the high cost of the services to districts.
So, but in addition to that, you're still projecting an increase in special ed costs.
Yes, an increase in special ed, well, actually, it's a decrease in
it's a
special ed
decrease.
class.
Yes.
Because we have
You're on the wrong page.
I see 1559583, and
No.
right next to it 1642.
No,
That's
go
bigger.
a couple pages.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're looking at.
overall, yes.
Yeah, not
Oh,
just-
okay, that's all. I'm just looking
No,
overall.
yeah, correct. Overall.
Overall.
Oh, but I see. But beyond this is out of district went down.
Yes, slightly.
Right.
Not much.
Yeah,
but
That's all right. All right, that's
The
okay.
biggest challenge, in terms of the increase in special education is not because we have that many new kids projected for next year. It's the fact that we have the same kids, and the funding source was a one-time funding source that helped us get, so we built that deficit. Does that make sense? Let me say that another way. Okay. When you say that, I could see it with the look, and I even confused myself, so let me try that again. When we came to the town and asked for money.
For the
For the
250.
250.
Okay.
In the fall of
In the
2012.
fall. That was
Okay.
for unanticipated placements.
Right, right.
Now, those costs are recurring.
Right,
So
they're still
they,
in
they
there.
are reflected in this budget.
Right,
Those students
right.
and their costs are reflected in the budget.
Right.
But we didn't build the 250 obviously into our base because we understood it came from free cash and it was to help us out this year. However, if that was in the base, then everything is even. The problem is because we aren't counting on that 250 when we built this budget, we still have the cost of those children. That's why the budget goes up an additional $250,000.
No, I understand
Okay.
that. I'm just looking at the additional money, so that, it's not much.
It's not much.
It's
what's
100,000, something like that.
One
It's
of
not a
the
huge
things that
amount.
we always talk about is how we build a budget and what the students that we have, and we look at the out-of-district tuitions and we apply a growth rate to those numbers that we think, I think we used 4%.
4%, we did,
this
yeah.
year.
We always use 4%.
And at our meeting 2 weeks or a week ago, whenever that was, Carol got a notice from the Merrimack Collaborative that we send students to that went up, I think 5 or 6%,
5%, yeah.
5.5%. So we're already like trying to play catch up with that. So and they just keep coming.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, so in essence, without doing a true zero-based budget, it really is similar to a zero-based, this is the actual costs going in.
Yeah, this
with
is what
what's
you,
left.
what
this is
you're
the- this is the
projecting the actual
actual
cost will be,
Yeah, we're not
basically.
projecting students, we're projecting what the percentage increase would be to an individual school's tuition. And we're,
Okay.
and we're projecting what we believe circuit breaker reimbursement will be. right?
Okay.
I mean, we
all
don't,
right,
can't
that's
know
fine.
those
You know,
numbers.
that's, yeah.
So there
yeah,
are
We
some-
do know
yeah,
the true
that's fine.
students are budgeted in that number.
And we are using historical data
Yeah.
too. It's not a shot in the dark. I mean, we're
Educated guess.
yeah, and a very educated guess. That's correct.
Now, in regards to this year's 250, how much of that are you using for that? The stu-
It's
almost
it's
completed.
baked in, isn't it?
Right, but.
No, no, no,
you're
but
talking
the
about
fiscal
FY
third-
250.
Right, we has had the last student placed and come to an agreement with them, and I think we encumbered the PO this past week, and there's like $600 left in the account, a little over 600.
Wow. Remember, we had told you we would identify the
Yeah.
35
Yeah.
kids,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we would track it on that single line.
Right, right.
Yeah, you
And
did.
that's what
Yeah.
we're doing.
Wow.
600.
But that was our concern, that we anticipated that as some of these students, things were changing.
Right,
that-
the student that was just placed when we met last, as I think when the school committee talked about it last, was in a 45-day placement,
Right.
waiting to see what the recommendation of that placement would be, and the sped director sent down the paperwork, and we encumbered it, actually, but in error, they encumbered it to the regular tuition outline, the secretary didn't,
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and so we corrected that this week, but it is
Okay.
one of the students that was on that list. And so I
Bless
think
you.
it's like $660 is left.
Okay.
That's what's left out of the 250?
Right, and we're in a deficit, if you looked at our budget, I don't have our current printout of our budget, it will be in the school committee packets next week. We're in a deficit overall in special ed, because we don't charge back to circuit breaker until the end of the year. We watch all our accounts and make sure that we really have to tap circuit breaker. But I can tell you right now, we're $310,000 over, and circuit breaker reimbursement for this current school year is $290,000. We did have some left from last year, so we'll tap that, but we're gonna start out the year with a small piece of circuit breaker, and then expect the 300,000 reimbursement to balance. That's with no new students moving in and no other kids going out next
no.
year. I mean, it's gonna be tight.
Okay.
Do our best.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody clear now on special ed,
Yep.
what's happening?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's always usually the most challenging to understand going in and out.
Yeah, and I think because it's kind of like, nobody like, but maybe Peter Durkee, who has snow and ice, has anything like special ed.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
because I think one of the things that I know we talked about at the committee level is, for the salary lines and the non-salary lines, with the exception of special ed, we were very consistent with what our directive from Mike was. Salary increases, contractual obligations, stay under 2.5%. Overall, and then we actually made some hard decisions in the non-salary lines in order to come in actually below level funding. So, hopefully, as you had a chance to go through this, under each tab, you could see that it's a little different format this year for you. But it basically follows the same trend, a little narrative at the top, a little, background information, and then these accounts that we have here are actually the Munis accounts.
Okay.
So for us, it's real easy during the course of the year, and for the principals to know we're spending out of that particular line. That was a feature Joan brought in. I think it's a great,
From a committee perspective, we can then see what she's encumbered and you can tie it right back to the budget line items.
right. And then obviously some historical information and then percentage increase. And then also new this year is the backup behind it. So for every single line, there's an explanation of what's in that line.
And if you look through it quickly and you see, I'm just looking at administration, like a 302% increase. It's important to read the notes because Joan did some reclassifying to put things where they where they belong.
Yeah, we've had that in the whole budget.
So yeah.
Well, he made some decisions, at one point,
Yeah.
before most of us, there was an attempt to try to do a site-based budgeting to really know what it costed into the individual
Right.
school. So special education was broken out, maintenance was broken out. And I
Yeah.
think we felt that it, for ease of budgeting and ease of tracking, that centralizing special ed and centralizing maintenance made more sense to all of us. And so that's all we did is we reclassified, but
But it
the.
allowed us to look at that whole pool of money and say, what can we do and where do we need to do it within the district? As opposed to each school gets a small amount and it can't have as great of an impact.
Right.
Right.
Carol, can I ask you a curriculum question?
Sure.
Okay. I've been reading horror stories here lately about what's happening to civics programs, throughout the Commonwealth. And when I hear politicians saying that if I'm elected, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and a lot of times they can't do X, Y, and Z unless Congress approves of it and so on and so forth. But I think a lot of our kids are not getting a proper education in government. And I think that, the civics courses that we used to teach, at least when I was there, we just got through talking about that 16 years ago when I retired. I see some smiles back in the audience there. But these are very near and dear to me because I think that the way we as a society teach our kids about politics indicates where we're going as a future generation and a country. And I just want to make sure that the kids in Georgetown are getting civic education.
Well, we follow the Mass Curriculum Frameworks, which are supposed to be covering that strand. So while we may not have, like, maybe in the 9th grade, they used to have a civics class. Is that what you're
That's
referring to,
correct,
Reg?
yep.
Yeah, that isn't the case right now, but I believe that the civics concepts are taught throughout the curriculum in other courses. But I will double check that for you and get back to you. I will just make sure with Rick Hastings, that, I'll just have him respond to that question so that we can be sure.
I'd appreciate that because I think it's been watered down
Yeah.
dramatically.
Yeah.
And I know we have to teach kids technology and computer science and all this other stuff. But I think that we also
It's probably me, I'm
we
sorry.
also
I'll
need
turn that off.
to keep our kids abreast of how to handle politics in this country.
Yeah.
And I'm very serious and sincere about this.
Well, let me look into it a little bit more for you, Reg.
Okay.
and I'll get back to you.
Lady back there has a question.
My name is Pam Lundquist, and I'm on the school committee, and I'm not familiar with all of the curriculum in the social studies area, but I can tell you I have an 8th grade son, and Barbie does too. And for half of the social studies year, they study civics. Half of it is US history.
On what level?
8th grade.
Eighth
And
grade.
he has a civics textbook, and so,
Right.
he's getting quite a lot of.
So let's look into that and
instruction
report back
in
to you, Reg.
civics
All right.
I think that's a,
I just thought that you might like to know that.
okay.
I know, we have the kids in school X number of hours and we're trying to, squeeze all this stuff into the kids, heads. But when we start throwing stuff out and watering it down that I think are important.
It's practical application
know.
of the democratic
well,
process, right? That's important.
I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah. no, I
Pam, you have another
understand.
And I
comment?
just add that, actually, I believe usually in the eighth grade, civics is the second half of the year, but because we had the presidential election, I believe it was flipped. And so the students learned civics in the first half of the year, all that excitement, all that wonderful excitement was going on.
Thank you.
Okay, so I also just want to point out, if you had a chance to look in the back of the, starting in tab 9, N, there's a, N for
I'm like, what do
9.
you have?
And, you always,
N, as in
revolving
Nancy.
accounts and
As in
grants is
done.
always something that
Yep.
we're asked about. So we did provide information
Revolving
on that.
accounts. Okay.
This is
Revolving
lovely, thank
accounts
you.
and grants.
Yep.
And actually, the first section, the page is the actual accounts we have in the little description. And then the page behind it is actually how we're gonna use them. So we have projected carry forward, the anticipated revenue, and then exactly what we're going to charge. Because that's always a question people have. Unfortunately, every year we talk about this, is that we do tend to have to rely a little too much on grants and revolving accounts for some of our staff positions. But this helps us as we're budgeting and looking at the total picture of the district. So just want to call your attention to that. If you have any questions, followed in tab O with grants.
Yeah, this is, to comment on this, so this is, N is the revolving funds you have.
Correct.
And this is very good, because it does give us an idea of breaking it down
Yeah,
of what,
I liked it.
especially the personnel you've been talking about, that we've
Right.
had a hard time.
Right.
Not just in your tenure, but in the previous
Oh,
superintendent's
so
tenure,
it
so.
has, excuse me, it
Yeah.
has where the revenue comes from.
Right,
That's
the revenue,
right. Yeah.
the revenue
That's
comes from,
right.
and it also shows that where the
Salary.
salaries
Salaries
are,
are.
so where the
Yeah.
challenges that they've been talking about that has always been kind of thrown out
When these
as a
go
number,
away,
but.
you know, how do you deal with it, you mean?
That-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's good.
The telling one is tab P.
Yeah, I was looking at
Okay,
that.
let's tab O is the grants.
Tab O is the grants, and there's two kinds of information. One is the actual breakdown of the grant and how we spend it, but then the last one, that last page is, I always think is interesting, because grants are soft sometimes. I mean, our entitlement, our NCLB, No Child Left Behind grants, are Title I, Title II. Those are allocations. We are gonna get them based on a formula. But we're not poor or underperforming, so our numbers are usually not very high when you compare them to districts that have perceived greater need. But what you can see is all the grants we've gotten over the course of the last 10 years. And you can see that, in many cases, we continue to get them but they change. Or, we got them for a couple of years and we no longer have them. So I think it's just a nice historical perspective for you.
You can see that, like FY13, we're projecting the lowest level in the last 10 years for
Right.
grants.
That's not that's this year. That's,
Oh,
we
that's
know,
this year.
that's
we
real.
know
This
that.
year.
That's
Yeah,
real.
that's
the year we-
Yeah.
That she knows, yeah.
And if you look, some of them are in FY12 even, a lot of them are private monies, private grants, 33,000
Yeah.
and 10,000. You never know with those kind of grants.
Right. And then P, what Ann was starting to speak about, school choice.
Which
That's always a big
relied
one.
so heavily on, will be down to 16,000 next year. If you look at the end of the year.
Right. Right.
And we use that to fund staff, obviously, as well as athletics, and technology.
So the user fees in athletics next year will go up again. The only thing, we fund is $68,000 out of the budget, which was thanks to the override. We did do that in the override. And then this 33, we'd like to be able to take this 33 out. And at some point, we're gonna have to take this 33 out.
Right.
But, it's a balancing act. So what's gonna happen to the athletic revolving account is either we're going to need to cut sports, or we're going to need to increase revenue, which is user fees, or we're gonna have to put more money in the budget, and then it's gonna compete with other priorities. So I think athletics is still a bear for us, trying to, think about the
How far can you
sustainability
squeeze
of
this?
that.
I mean,
I know.
you have families who have
I know.
3 kids.
We agree.
You keep pushing up these user fees and you're blanking these kids out of
Yeah.
participation.
That's a
Yeah.
good point, but what's really interesting is when we had the override and we were able to lower our user fees, our participation rate went down.
Really?
Yeah.
Not what you would expect.
Not,
Not what
no,
you would
and
expect.
see, I completely agree with what Reggie's saying. Like intuitively, you would say that we're pricing ourselves out, but that wasn't the case. So it's something we really are struggling with, and we're really trying to look at in a number of different ways to try to figure out, the best thing for our student athletes.
And then just to follow in that same tab, again, historical information, looking back from 2009 to 2013, and the revenue that was brought in from school choice. Over the last couple of years, we've just taken in elementary students. We didn't take in any high school students. So what's happening is the vast majority of students who came in on the front end of choice at the beginning of this period have graduated and are leaving, and we aren't replacing them. So that's why you see this decline. And then if you look at the next page,
But we're filling in because we have the enrollment, and that's why the kids aren't coming in from the outside using the choice program, right?
correct, that's why we haven't,
Yeah.
there's enrollment trends.
Right.
So at one point, we had more slots available, but as our bubbles from the elementary have moved up into middle and now into high school, the number of children in that school as a whole, we have said that, it was in the best interest of Georgetown's children to not take school choice students at that level for the last several years.
Yeah,
We
okay.
did have space at the kindergarten and first grade level.
Yeah.
And so that's actually good, because usually if they come in at kindergarten and first
they're
grade,
gonna
they stay
stay,
for
yeah,
13 years.
right,
So
yeah.
that's a benefit.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the next chart, it actually shows you, again, from 2004 to 2013, the actual enrollment of the kids in and out. So you can see in '04, there was, over 60 students were coming in, and less than 30 were going out. And again, you see that replication of the trend we were talking about, so that now we have almost as many kids going in and out. And then further, we're going from big to little, this next chart actually shows you by grade where our children, so the first group is the choice out students, where they go, how many go there, and what grades they're in. So we have it for choice out, choice in, and then we look at private and parochial schools, vocational schools, and home schools.
So right now, you're projecting 19 kids going out?
That's
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 actually
this,
occurred this year.
this year.
That's this year, right?
Wow.
So it's just interesting information. People often ask us, where do the children choice in and out to?
What's interesting is the homeschool number.
What sort of responsibilities do you have for homeschool?
For homeschool, what we do is the parents will submit a homeschool plan. Our director of special education is actually our homeschool liaison, so she reviews it, and we have to make sure that it's clear what program they're going to use, how they're going to do it, what the qualifications are of the person who's going to be teaching, and how they're going to assess student progress. So we do have a template that we ask people to fill out, and then at the end of the year, the homeschool families do provide information to us in terms of what their child's accomplished. Every year, the school committee approves not the individual plan, but the recommendation. We recommend certain students, be granted homeschool plans, and then the school committee approves that. That's required by law.
Do they get any kind of regular testing at all?
Well, they are required to provide in their plan how they're going to test. So some families, get standardized tests from different companies, and actually will provide those to us. But homeschool families cannot take MCAS.
So they don't take any state testing at all?
They're not allowed to take MCAS.
So what do they get at the end?
Well, they may do like the California Achievement Test. They may have a program that they purchase that has assessments built in, and their job is they have to make sure that we can see that their child's making progress against the basic skills.
But at the end of 4 years of high school,
They do not get a high
What do
school
they get?
diploma.
That's what
Yeah,
I do.
that's-
Don't get a high
they
school
get a
diploma.
GED or?
That's generally what they would probably do, is go for
Does
the
it get a
GED.
GED? Wow.
Now, what, have some homeschool students, maybe they'd be out for the elementary and then they'd ask to come back in high school, and then we'd look at the credits that they would have accumulated. We do allow that, and the other thing that the homeschool policy does allow for is, and we do have some students who access this, they don't come for our academic programs, they come and participate on our sports teams, or they may ask to take like science because the family isn't feeling
Strong
capable
in
of.
science, right? Yeah.
Yes, so, you know, we do work, you know, with families
Okay.
Interesting.
in
Yeah.
accordance with the
Just,
law.
just one other question. When it comes to private schools, do you have any requirements for busing them for
No,
transportation? You
no,
don't? Okay.
if it's private, no,
They're on their own, right?
they're on their own.
Well, it's interesting to see that it's pretty consistent about how many
Yes.
people go to the schools year after year.
Yes. Mhm. That's what's nice about looking at trend information. And then the next tab, Q, is just some enrollment information, trends by school and the district overall. And then our October 1 number, our numbers follow that.
This is just as of
As of last fall.
Last October.
Last October.
last October, so this is not, is this
That's the actual students that were enrolled October
this-
1st.
so this is this done on a
2/12.
calendar year or on October 1st every year?
October 1st every year.
Every year.
It's something
Well,
you
you
have to
got-
file, isn't it?
Yeah, it's with
Yes.
the
Yes.
state.
Well, it's
a
just the one at
state-
fiscal year versus calendar year, now we're on an October 1st, okay.
Yeah.
all right.
Right,
Be
exactly.
on your toes.
And then if you're, you know, interested in learning how our accounting structure works and what goes in each, you're more than welcome to read that.
That is
Tab
actually,
R.
that's actually very helpful
Yes.
because that, especially where you put the accounts in now, and Mike, I'm assuming we'll be getting the same thing from,
Hopefully next year, yeah.
yeah, so which is helpful to be able to see, you know,
Yes.
for the GASB and stuff like that, how it's,
Oh, I see.
And
love-
same in S. Same.
I must
With
say,
chart accounts.
I'm very pleased with the new book and the new
Yeah,
product,
that's-
I really
that's-
am.
yeah.
Kudos, Joan, very,
Good
very,
breakdown,
very
yeah.
nice.
Joe worked tirelessly with us, making sure we understood it and moving things around, and
It's very,
I think it.
I think it's extreme, it's very clear to me.
You guys probably learned
Yeah.
some stuff breaking
You
this.
come
I
back
like
again
it.
next year?
We did, it was helpful for us, because we're always, you know, trying to add up, you know, how much do we do on this, and
Yeah.
it helps this way.
Well, I do appreciate the fact that you've come in with those numbers. I know they're tight, everyone's tight this year as we go through. Mike is gonna have some adjustments with us in the budget. We've just got some work to do over the next couple of weeks to come up with what the final numbers are gonna look like after our meeting on the 9th, so. March 9th, does anybody have any other questions for the school?
No, no, we're good.
Wow.
Well, thank you for your time.
Wow.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you
you.
very much.
Was that a
This is a
record?
record.
Was that-
Last year,
No
this is what you
angst.
decided to
Would
do,
we
make
wait
it
until
easy?
April 9th till your meeting to understand?
No, she meant March 9th. We just had our meeting.
We had our meeting with all the rest of the, with all the rest of the
so-
departments on March 9th.
Yeah, we're also prepared to do capital
Okay,
improvement
yep.
if you'd like.
Nice.
Okay,
The,
I'd like to adjourn our meeting.
no, you're not adjourned yet.
Adjourn?
no, we're doing capital.
You will unlike adjourning your meeting.
Mike can sit in my seat, I'll sit right here. Well, here, you should probably, you worked with Mike on it too.
All right.
All right, Harry loved us. He came in and then he left. He's probably waiting. He's probably expecting us to be longer too.
You know, it'd be really impressive if CPC took 35 minutes also.
Okay, so I just
It's so
want to
funny.
verify, do you have any of the?
Mike had given us
paper?
these packages before.
Yes.
Do you guys all have them with you?
I think so.
Oh,
I
look
hope
at right
so.
here.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I think I might have
Right
mine.
here.
CIP project
Right here.
Looks like this,
request.
Reggie. It's this, looks like this, and one of these.
And one
If you
of
don't, I
these.
have extras.
Well, why don't you give me your extras? By the time I dig these up, I probably, it'll be midnight.
That's not it.
No
Where we
paperwork
going?
here.
Admin,
Well, then we'll have to have someone else adjourn the meeting instead of you.
police. Holy cow. How come police had so much? School.
We got a righty stapler.
Yeah, I know. we got
Yeah.
it. Mike is here to do capital, so. Do you have your capital stuff, Mike?
Sandy has extras.
I have extras.
No, I don't.
The left
Down,
side of the
I got-
room is,
I got the wrong book.
Dear Ed.
okay.
So the schools had three capital items. And Mike did a lot of work putting these together, talking with Joan, and then we spoke at the school committee meeting, I think on 2 meetings about these. I guess there was an attempt to prioritize them, but they ended up all being important in some way. I know one of the things that came out of a discussion with CIP, which was not an official meeting, I guess it was a discussion, but not an official meeting, was with the anticipation of maybe some renovations being done at the middle high school. There were 2 in particular. One was the handicap ramp, and the other was the HVAC system in the auditorium. I think there was strong support for the intercom system because that really is a safety issue, particularly when we can't get our intercom system to work. It's one of our only real ways of communicating to everybody in the school. So we use it, for example, for our Code Blue and any other method by which we need to get information to people. And that's just an old system. So, upgrading that was I think the first priority that we identified. The other 2 priorities, though, the handicap ramp, back to the renovation projects, I'm not sure with the feasibility study. I think that number has to come in to be very reasonable for the town. So I think the things that are going to go into that feasibility study recommendation are going to be the ones that are the highest priority and the ones that, are probably going to be higher cost. The handicap ramp is a problem now. I'm actually surprised we haven't run into a situation with that because it's chipped up and just getting a wheelchair up there would not be easy. We've made numerous attempts to patch it. I mean, these guys have done the yeoman's job. It's just not patchable at this point in time. So we put it on the list because we do feel that even if the renovations happen and it is on the list, it may be 2 or 3 years away until it could be done. And it is a priority now. And it is, as far as we're concerned, it's a safety and a liability issue and concern. And then the HVAC system, I think there was some question about whether or not it was the air conditioning. And you know how often the auditorium is used. Not only is it used for all of the town events, but it's an actual teaching station. One of the accreditation issues that gets raised every year because it's a teaching station for our choral music teacher. That's where she teaches every period of the day. She actually is in that room. And I've been in there and I've seen them in their coats, it's not appropriate. We have again made numerous attempts to fix the situation and it's bigger than us, I guess is the point. So it isn't just the AC. It's not just a situation where it's to make people comfortable. It's beyond that. It's also the heating system for that space.
So it's the whole HVAC.
Is it the air handler?
Yeah, it's a rooftop unit, and it's actually the only unit that wasn't part of this ESCO project.
Yeah, we weren't quite
Just-
sure
just
why it
didn't
didn't
have
make the
anything
ESCO project,
done.
but it didn't.
Because there wasn't a savings based on
there you go.
repairing it.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
But
So
it is,
But it is
but it is
15
a
years
health and
old, and
safety.
it's a rooftop unit, so it's in the weather all the time.
yeah.
So this is just for the auditorium.
That's
This is
right.
the
It's-
unit that is specifically
Yeah,
for the
Air
auditorium.
conditioner, and it also brings in fresh air.
Fresh air.
Okay.
Oh,
How the heck did we miss that?
And we've actually,
Rich is
No,
like, wait a minute.
Mike's right, there were no
There were no
savings to be
savings, so you
had.
couldn't-
That's,
Yeah.
that's why we
Yeah.
didn't do
Yeah.
the boilers
at the high
either,
school.
Yeah, okay.
because it was
mean, we've had
negative
problems.
cash flow.
But we still have it. We
still have the issue,
equipment,
yeah.
And we
Yeah.
still have the issue, right?
Right. Okay.
So that's by way of explanation as to why those 3, all ended up sort of on the priority list.
So how much are we talking about, Mike, to replace that?
It's around $80,000.
Eight?
80.
80.
80.
And then just to back up to the intercom is for both Pearlie and high school.
Correct.
And when you say high school, you mean middle high,
Yeah.
Middle high.
for that entire building.
Yeah.
That whole building.
Okay.
And then eventually Pembroke, it would be developed so that Pembroke would tie in.
Yeah, that's the hope is, the timing is obviously very precarious, but, the whole goal would be to have all of the systems in the district and in the town that can talk to one another.
Oh, that would be.
Yeah.
Need the same.
It'd be novel.
Sounds pretty sensible to be
Well,
true.
It's-
Ease of
it says-
maintenance, but also just for repair of parts.
I mean,
and-
you're not
What?
suggesting to do this with Pembroke before the construction?
No, not at
Oh,
all. My point
oh.
was we would do these two buildings, and then
Okay.
when Pembroke was complete, when the new building was completed, it would have the ability to tie in to a new to this new system.
So heaven forbid we had a major emergency and you called like a code blue, you could do it across the town type of thing. If all of a sudden you had something happening at one school and you wanted to make sure the other schools went on lockdown right away, that could tie in like that?
Oh, I don't know, I'm
That
not
probably
sure
can
about,
because of the
Sandy.
networking.
That's what I'm.
It probably
Yeah,
could,
yeah.
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 Yes, and I think there's some backbone and infrastructure that needs to be done. We're hoping it will be done maybe with a shared attempt by the town and the schools to work together on this O-ring and these different backbone mechanisms by which we can all be on the same page.
And Mike, in the funding source, you had the intercom coming out of capital and then under other.
The other was
The
meant to
feasibility
be
study,
the
yeah.
feasibility study.
The feasibility study. Okay.
Say, and, I mean, that's gonna be
Okay.
starting soon, but that's not expected to,
So the committee didn't have anybody.
Yes.
We didn't get to sit with anybody.
yes,
It was,
Right.
right.
to explain the project.
Right, and then when Joan and I sat with Mike, he said, oh, okay, now I have a little more information, and then we knew we were coming here, so that's why I wanted to provide that. Mike gave me kind of a hint as to what the questions might be, and
Nope, that's fine, just as long as we know, so when we
Yeah.
start to put, next Wednesday, when we start to
Figure
put
out where
everything
we're
together.
going.
Yeah.
all right.
And like the handicap ramp, like it's been patched and everything, and it is bumpy. But it's been suggested to hot top the whole thing, but we can't do that because we can't change the incline because there's certain guidelines to
Right.
the pitch and everything. So it's not like we just want to do a ramp. This just has to be the specific guidelines for handicap.
Yeah, what's the best pitch that they're talking about here?
I forget the number off the top of
Oh,
my head,
okay.
but there is.
Maximum
Yeah.
0.83%.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
It's what?
He's an architect.
He
Maximum
knows the ring, this is what it says.
23?
Rob would know.
8.3.
8.3.
0.83.
Okay.
3%.
Okay. Any other questions on any of the school CIP projects?
Are we gonna get something from the CIP, or are we gonna mush them all together and
This
do it
is-
ourselves?
this is
This is about it.
This is about it.
This is it.
Yeah.
You don't have to see it.
And that's, but we're gonna have to mush
We're
everything.
gonna have to
like,
sit
we're gonna-
down and see how much
You're
money we
you're
wanna
gonna
put
have
into
to be
all
the
this.
CIP.
Right,
Okay.
right.
We're gonna
In the
see
end, I'm presuming next week we'll start moving all the numbers around, because we have all the figures in.
Like, we waited, we didn't, if you notice, there's nothing
Yeah.
in there for highway.
Yeah, they didn't go anywhere.
We had to talk to Peter, which one he
Right.
Right,
prioritized, the six-wheeler or the one-ton.
Right.
I thought he wanted, I get the sense he wanted the six-wheeler, but.
Well, he wants both, but
Well,
That's
yeah.
what I thought too.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect, you can only have one.
Yeah.
I asked him to choose, and he said either one. But if the six-wheeler breaks, he's gonna have to.
Yeah, that's right. That's the
Right.
more important.
but also the
thing.
six-wheeler is large enough and it follows the CIP guidelines that we could actually bond it if we wanted to.
Right.
If we
So
wanted
that's
to
what
look
we
at
have
to
to
do a
figure
that's
all
the
of
thing,
that
right?
out.
We can do a short-term bond for that if we,
Yeah, you could do a five-term,
Yeah.
5-year
Yeah.
bond on it, a 5-year short-term borrowing.
right. As opposed to some of the other items we can't.
Right.
Oh, really?
They may not make, the other items really may not make, well, we can talk about this
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll-
that's
Your school doesn't need to hear.
Yeah.
Is there any, if
They
there's
hear
anything
enough.
else that you need from us?
Absolutely.
No,
Let us-
sorry.
This is really,
Yeah.
this is,
This is the end.
This is, this is Robin's last school budget.
Run home.
So I'm glad we made it easy for you.
I'm like, wow, they're gonna be like this all the time, I come back.
We appreciate it, it really was, it's great. Now, do you have this posted online anywhere for folks to see?
We do,
And has the school committee voted on this?
We
yes.
adopted
You
it
adopted
last
it?
week. We had a public hearing and, we adopted right after that.
Super.
Last week, or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was in the paper that you guys had adopted. it,
So,
yeah.
wonderful. Do you have any questions for us?
So we'll wait to hear from you as to what our final number is.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 2 weeks to get the numbers together and everything for the FinCom book. That's why we did the schedules we did this year. So we'll have two good working meetings on the next couple of Wednesdays.
Okay, great. Because if we have to
Right.
make reductions, we would want to do, we'd have to do that in April, so
Right,
probably
we
at
need
like our
to.
April 11th
You're
meeting.
going to, yeah, our stuff has got to be done by April 3rd, I think is our
Okay,
last
well, then
meeting.
that'll work.
That's our last meeting, so we can
Okay.
get the books out, so the public can get the books.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
I'll
This
get
was
back to
really-
you on the civic.
Very simple.
Yes.
I appreciate this.
So, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Harry, I presume you're here for CPC?
Harry, no one with you? Just you?
I didn't print out this. Mike, did you happen to make printouts? Thank you.
Come on.
Shock, huh?
Where are the others?
What a shock. Well, exhibiting common sense, I guess. in getting home, I would imagine. I made 9 copies. I handed a couple.
Oh, Mike made some copies too.
I forgot to bring it, Doobie.
You forgot to introduce Ed to the school committee.
I know, I'm remiss.
I thought of
I'm
that,
a
yeah.
bad chair tonight.
Oh, look, I get it from everybody.
I don't,
Yeah, those are going that way.
these are yours?
You
sent us.
You already have it.
This
Yeah,
is what
that's what-
Sandy sent us, yeah.
You have it.
You know, but it was really hard
I
to
need
read
one.
on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah, and Harry, I need one of those.
Yes,
What?
you do.
What, Harry?
If I would have known as Harry, I wouldn't have printed mine up.
Sandy needs one.
I need one, Harry.
Sandy needs one. You
I'm only Josh and you.
I have,
Do you have some?
I print so much stuff
I
on that
have,
printer.
yes, I have original.
It's really
And
painful
what it
to
is
read on my
it's more
phone.
than just
You
the,
get sick of it after a
the
while.
warrant articles that were voted and approved by the, recommended to be approved at town meeting by the CPC. I got an email from you, Sandy. I don't know when I picked it up, probably 4:30, 5 o'clock tonight.
No, I saw it. It's
Sorry
just-
about,
No, it's
okay,
all right.
sorry about that. I tried to put together some of the information that you had asked for. A lot of that stuff, the sheets, I mean, we'd be cutting down the forest to print.
No. And
some of it.
I developed one last year also that I wanted to sit there and I think a very simplistic spreadsheet for us that really just kind of shows each year what was appropriated
Okay.
for the different, underneath historic, underneath open space, blah, blah, blah. So I just kind of wanted to add to
There,
that.
there is one, if you're looking for that overall, all-encompassing, here's what went out every year.
Yeah.
That's
No, I don't even think
available
we
on the
need-
website, on
Yeah.
the CPC website.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Go to the left-hand side, look all the way down, you know how there's like a column of little links on the
Right.
left? All the way down to the bottom, and right near minutes, there's something that says all appropriations. It's an Excel sheet. Download it, open it up, and you will see everything from what we call CPAP 001 to whatever we're at now, 90-something.
They're all there.
Every one of them's
Is,
there.
is there something here about ones that are closed and ones that are
Yeah,
open?
That's
and
the
then-
other thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's the secret column C. If the
secret
secret,
one.
the secret column C, well, I didn't label it because it's this big and you couldn't fit a label in it, and the sheet's so darn wide, I didn't wanna. Column C, when you see it, is, if there's an X in it,
Yeah.
they're closed out. If there's nothing in it, they're still active.
Well, but the thing is, do you have an accounting of like how much was actually expended? Say something 75,000 was appropriated.
Mm-hmm.
Did they really spend the whole 75,000 or is more money going back into CPC?
We have that because we were looking at that throughout this year.
Okay.
And we established some of the accounts. We figured out exactly which one of the accounts had that residual funding. We call it residual funds.
Right.
What we did was we examined each and every one of them. Some of those accounts, they don't have, the original warrant article didn't have what we call the sundown clause.
Well, you do, they
Sunset
do
clause.
now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see,
yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
they
we-
do now,
For the
yeah.
most part,
Right.
they do. If they have the sundown clause, and what we would do is, we would contact the folks that essentially ask for the money and find out, for instance, a lot of them are with the Historical Commission, and the Historical Commission requested a lot of funds for a lot of separate projects. And the funds were appropriated at town meeting by the voters. But what happened was, sometimes they don't have adequate people power to make them happen. So they sort of went to the back burner. Well, the money doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't come out of the fund. We're still getting interest on it. It's still attributing to the fund. But that money naturally is encumbered, so you can't spend it. And there are ongoing projects that take a long time. And what we do is we ask the Historical Commission, et cetera, Concom, whoever the original proponent was that had asked for the money, we asked them, do you still need the money? And they basically say, yeah or no. And then we roll the money back. If they say, if the way it's worded, if we don't feel it's needed, we can roll it back with just a vote. And all we do is, in much the same way that the planning board rolls back the M accounts, 53G accounts for planning board for reviews, we roll those back on the planning board all the time after we know that the developer has, the street's been accepted, but the developer still has 20,000, 10,000, whatever they have in an account for review fees. We roll those back with a certificate of vote. At any public hearing, any public meeting, board votes, board signs certificate of vote, specifies it, sends it off to Mary rolls the funds.
All right.
It's the same process with CPC.
All right, well, why don't we just hit it? I think A is the general.
Pulling out the old
Can
goggles.
I ask you a general question, maybe to educate the public who's watching also here? On an average, Harry, how much money does the CPC generate on an average a year?
Both, well, there's two numbers. There's one, the state match, but there's,
Well, that's
there's
what I'm saying.
the local
Yeah,
revenue.
Well, I'm saying that the local generates 3, and the state generates, and that's.
Right here,
And
okay.
that's been a question mark.
You don't even have to ask me. You can read what the assessor, the tax collector and the town accountant and the treasurer all have reported. To give you over this year, what was collected for 2012, flip forward and you'll see in the packet that you have, I did give away all of my packets.
Oh, here we go.
Harry, I've got two,
It'd be
Harry, I
yours. Now
have
it's
two more.
mine again.
Here you go.
Oh, okay.
Ed, you can pass it that way.
If you go
This.
to, and it
Do you guys have
is-
any? Did you get one? Yeah. We don't need it. Yeah.
Gee, I think you guys have, yeah. It should be 1, 2. Yeah, okay. Flip back to something that says Community Preservation Fund Report, City of Georgetown. It's probably on the last sheet of your thing, the backside. This is a different kind of
I
copy.
guess I don't have that. I didn't print it out at home, okay.
No, this is the one I handed out.
Yeah.
No, but he gave his back.
No,
'cause he
I gave it
printed-
back because I thought I had printed it out at home, but I guess.
I had 9
Share with me.
copies here.
Okay,
What did I do
I'll
with
share,
them all?
I'll
We're
share it,
good.
Harry.
You
All right,
share?
we're all
I
set.
can share.
Oh, it's like
We're all
this,
set.
right here. This is
Yep.
what's called the CP2 form, okay? CP2, and these are required to be filed
okay.
by the town accountant, certified by her, him or her, in our case, it's a her, and sent off to the state, to the Department of Revenue.
Right, this is revenues coming in and then revenues going out. This is as of June 30th.
Exactly. And if you look on the first page, you'll see number 3, what they're calling number 3 on the first page. And you see collections from Community Preservation Surcharge.
And that's pretty much steady. What goes up?
I don't know where it's at
We're,
here.
we're
You
having
know, we
problems.
don't know.
Page-
Are you on the A4 or are you on the CP2?
I don't know, we're trying to follow you
Can't
here.
find, oh, this is CP2.
It looks
There
like
it
this
is.
one,
Okay,
Mike.
we got it.
Okay,
The
CP2?
A4 has the surcharge money, which
Yeah.
is 326.
Yeah, a lot of these are reflected on both the forms. But if you look at this one here, the CP2, it's broken down a little more easily,
Oh, yeah.
a little more understandable, okay? And I mean, it's,
Oh, what are gifts, grants, and donations at 153? What is that?
that was actually what happened, when we did the Driftway Farm purchase, and that was done in the cycle past. We had an active open space and recreation plan at the time, so we were eligible for OEEA grants.
Right,
And
it's less than
we
half,
received
Yeah.
157,000, I believe it was.
This says 153.
It says
but-
153.
Okay, that might have been it, yeah,
Okay.
So they're giving us
yeah.
less than
But that,
50%.
we received that.
That's an unusual one-time kind of.
Yeah, it is, very unusual. Although we have gotten several of them. We got it for Hampshire
Yeah.
Woods, we've gotten them
Oh,
for.
did you really?
Yeah, we got it for Bailey Lane, when we did the Bailey Lane conservation. We also did it, and we got it for this too. The unique thing about it is what it does to the fund in the next year because it does show as a receipt. And because it shows as a receipt, it boosts the amount of monies that you have to reserve, because you have to
Oh,
reserve
yeah,
ten
that sounds
percent.
like the
So it bumps up the
library.
figures. You're gonna see, last year, when we did our reservations in that first draft warrant article, the warrant article, our first appropriations for the reservations last year were like 42 or 45,000. This
So
year,
there's 65.
to reach that 10% level, you have
Because,
to go with
because you have
60.
to add in all those things, all the numbers.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. You have to
So,
take
so
that.
this that shows the revenue for the year, and then the expenditures, is that the money spent? on the-
Last year.
No, wait, is that all the appropriations that were voted on, or actually dollars out the door for all the previous
No, that's,
appropriations?
no, the DOR only cares about what what the town meeting voters voted for. As far as the actual accounting per se of when those monies go out the door, you don't have that. Well, you do have it, it's on the next page. The amount that's reserved for encumbrances, on the next page. Okay?
yeah, the
They
back,
call
all right.
that the
Very back.
3211
Yeah,
account.
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what's reserved, it's in the checking account, so to speak,
Because we've already appropriated town meeting to
because,
spend.
yeah, it's.
We've
it's-
authorized it.
Yeah, it's sitting in the account, but it's like, when you have the money in your account, but for the most part, you already wrote the checks, but they're in envelopes waiting to be mailed.
So you, as of last
Is that a good
June, there
analogy?
was-
I
yeah.
thought that was a really good household analogy there.
Yep.
Okay, Harry.
So you've got $2.9 million.
Pardon me?
1.9.
Oh, 1.9, yeah, 1 point, well, that's
This
what
is-
you've
No,
already
fund
spent.
balance
The
is
fund balance is 2.9.
2.9.
Right,
Oh,
There's
that.
200, there's $2.9 million sitting there?
at this point, yeah, that's what Mary's telling us, yeah, absolutely.
And,
It's
and this 1.9 at the top is our projects that has been approved by the town, but the money's never been.
But the monies
spent.
haven't been expended
And
yet.
this is, the rest of it is just sitting there waiting for you to spend it.
Well, you also have to figure that, all those, number two, that 3240 account for the
Yeah.
300,000, that 302,000, the 68,000, all of those are added up to make that 28, that 2,800,000.
Oh, I understand, yeah.
Yeah. And I can tell you right now, we recommended spending every penny of it last night.
Of that 2.9?
Of the amounts that you see reserved for expenditures, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 7.
And that, but that number is in addition to the 600,000 that you got, right? Is that
No,
not
no,
true?
that's reflected in here.
Oh, that is reflected in.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, CPA, the CP committee last night recommended, essentially, stripping the fund and going for 2 bonds.
Harry, this is through 2012, June.
FY.
12, FY 12. So FY 13 money isn't accounted for yet?
We don't have it yet. It's not certified.
Where does it sit when I pay my taxes quarterly and?
Well, it's in the general fund. but
Okay.
it's-
It's just not available
It's still
to the
considered anticipated
CPC.
revenue. It's not
Just curious.
really money until it gets certified.
But I guess my question was originally, okay, on an average, what do we get from the state and what do we contribute on a yearly basis?
You want the percentage of what we get from the state?
No, I want hard numbers. I mean,
Right.
if the town pays 3% in
Okay, if our
taxes,
local collections,
Right, okay.
collections are X.
and then the state turns around and it looks like they only pay 50%.
Only?
Well, it used to be 100%.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm asking is roughly, what are those numbers on a yearly basis?
I can't tell you over the last 10 years. I don't have those in my head, Reg. We're
But
somewhere.
right here for fiscal
in
12.
the order.
326 for fiscal 12, right? And 141 for the state. That's
Right,
an A4.
right,
Isn't
that's
that
on
what
your
that is?
A4, but you have to pull out, don't look at the total, pull out the, that 153,000, because that's an aberration,
Oh, right, I'm just looking at the first two.
Yeah,
The surcharge
yeah.
was about 325,000.
325.
The state gave us a little over 140.
That's what the town kicks in, three?
Yeah.
That's what,
325
that's
is
what,
what
that's
the
local
town
collection.
Okay.
Yeah. And this year,
See
in,
those?
in this year representative, it's about 47-48%. And I can tell you DOR came out with some projected
Same
numbers.
thing every
They're
year.
exactly on track with that same thing for
Okay.
this year, that same percentage, with the exception of the fact that the legislature is,
So that's
in the legislation that passed this summer.
$500,000, is it?
They're adding 25 million to the fund. Nobody at this point knows what that's gonna do to the match, if it's gonna bring it from 47% and bump it to the full 100, or something in between.
Little
We will
short.
not have those numbers
Short.
until November.
$500,000, okay.
Yeah.
When does it normally get certified?
The certification of the monies,
Is that when they certify free cash when that whole,
that's when the reporting for the, this year's CP2, the reporting used to be
yeah,
in, I believe, October, but now the legislature changed it to November to give them more time.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so we don't actually know what,
470, okay.
yeah. Remember, those monies, though, as far as CPA is concerned, we don't appropriate from the anticipated revenue.
Right, yeah,
We
yeah,
only work
you'll
from
appropriate that next year.
When it's in, when we see it in the vault,
Right,
then we,
right,
yeah,
right.
with the exception of this year, what we're doing by majority vote, we will be proposing to, the members proposed two CPA bonds.
Okay, again, I was trying to educate the public who is watching us here on how much money is being appropriate. Mike and I came up with $470,000, okay?
We're getting that.
On the first two?
325 plus 145.
Yeah, yeah.
On an average,
On
that's,
average.
So on an average, how much being appropriated?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, I can't tell you, that varies all over the place. You're taking an average from one set of data that
Well,
is 10 years, one of 10 years, I don't know.
Okay.
Give you the average.
A good way to
The reason
pull
I'm
that,
saying that, the reason I'm saying that is that you're proposing to spend
the C,
a very
the
hefty-
CPC as a committee
a very
voted that.
a very large amount of money.
okay, why don't,
And I'm just trying
Right.
to
I agree.
tell the public
Yes.
that we're getting $470,000.
Oh, yes, but when you.
More or less, give or take a
No,
penny.
with respect to a bond, I believe you may be giving them bad information.
okay, let's, hold on.
Okay.
Let's start from here. All right, to
Bonds
Reggie's point is, at the end of FY '12, we brought in from our tax base, local tax base, $326,000.
Reported by
Okay.
the treasurer.
We also received from the state matching about 141,000.
141.20, yeah.
Okay, and then we had earnings, our investments of 21,000. We had a gift of 153.
A grant we received.
A
yeah.
grant, another 921. So FY '12, at the end of June in 2012, we received a total revenue of 642,000.
Exactly.
Okay, on an average, but
Now-
the collections, to Reggie's point, is on, but the two primary funding sources for this revenue is our taxes and
matching
state
funds.
match.
And state
And right now, that state match for 2012 was 43%.
47%. That's
I
what-
just
that's
calculated
what-
it with 43%, but anyway, I'm not gonna quibble over a couple
Okay,
things. So
no,
now,
whatever.
now before we go into the distribution and what we've got in here, why don't we just start going through each one of these, these articles?
You can do the articles and go straight to them, and you can actually follow along on something that looks like this spreadsheet. This is what we use to calculate that number that you just gave us, Cindy, that 648. That's our starting working figure. We derive that from the
Oh,
CP2, and that's how we start. And
Okay, so but what is that $2.9 million? The total fund balance.
that's the amount of money that's sitting in the checking account.
So that's cash.
Yes, the
That's
question
cash.
is, can you spend it? And Remember, we already said we wrote 1 point something.
Is encumbered
million.
already.
1.9 has been
Yeah.
encumbered.
Is
Right.
encumbered, all right.
We wrote checks for that, and those checks are in the envelopes, sitting on the kitchen table, ready to be mailed. So, we wouldn't wanna.
Right, so the difference is the 2.9 million minus the 1.9.
The difference that we understand at this point is 686,133. And you see that existing working figure from CP2 on the spreadsheet. And that would be in, well, I guess it's B6, line B6, but this sheet doesn't have it. Yep, it is, it is. It's actually, and the place you derive that is that you take, if you see reserves way over here on this side of the sheet, okay? Those are the four figures that we got from the CP2, coming straight from our treasurer, right, our accountant. These numbers right here, they're right there, all right? When you tally them all up, they come up to that same figure,
Oh, I see.
686,133. Okay?
So off the 686,133, you immediately take out the admin cost and the reserves.
And you see that right over here.
So that's how you get the undesignated now.
No,
No, that isn't.
no. What you do is you take that and we add that to the reserve figures. And the reserve figures then tally up over in
I know I was never an
this
accountant.
column. I'm not an accountant, I'm an engineer. Sorry.
Oh, I see. So the 300,000 is what you have to leave there? You haven't
What-
used the 300.
What
Because
300 are we-
680 and 190 doesn't add up to 28. So there's a 300,000, that 3240 number is still there. It says fund balance reserve for expenditures.
Oh,
What
you're back
you've
on the A2.
expended is the rest of it. The 302, the 68, the 67, and the 247.
You're looking on page two
I'm
of
looking,
the CP2.
I'm looking at the last page, the one that has the.
Right, right. Those were what we spent last year.
I thought you said you had 2.9. Fund balance through June 2012, okay.
Fund balance
Right.
reserve, that
Right,
three hundred
well, that's the
thousand
money
is
you used for this year,
reserved
right?
for expenditures. That was what we spent out of the undesignated account last year.
Oh, last year.
Right, right.
But so the 2.8 isn't what you have now then?
No, because $1 million of that is encumbered already, right?
That is,
Million of it is encumbered, 1.9 million is
Yeah,
encumbered.
Yeah, right.
No.
No?
If this is the June 30th, 212, you're telling us that the money that you use for this upcoming May town meeting is the money you get in November. Someone tells you the money is certified in November.
No,
So the
Ray.
money you're using right now
No,
is
Jeff.
certified in November of 212.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank
got
you.
it. So the bottom line is the amount of money that the fund has to spend
Right.
is take line number 3, line number 4, line number 5,
That's what I said.
and line number 7.
But you said that this is
But
the
you can't take
212
line
amount.
number 2
Right.
because 2 is what we pulled that out already. We're-
Right.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so
I'm
you
sorry.
had this
I must have misheard. I'm
300,000
sorry.
left in the fund, basically. What confuses me, if you don't mind me
No,
beating
no, no.
this dog?
There's 600. There's 6 right now because town meeting has not voted.
Right,
There is
right,
686,133
available to be spent, essentially.
available to be appropriated.
Right,
Good,
available
good.
to be appropriated.
Right? We good? We all good with that? We know where that derives from?
But you said that this was from last year. Is this the money that you had available? The line 3, line 4, line 5, and line 7?
Off the line 3.
Yeah.
That's what
This
that
is the money that you have available.
302,
Right.
753 is
Right.
how much is in the open space reserve.
Right,
Okay?
right now,
And-
today, this minute.
that's cash.
Right, right. It's sitting there.
That's cash.
You can call it that, absolutely.
Let's keep this
Yeah,
simple.
it's reserved money. It's not
it's-
appropriated, it's reserved for a
Reserve,
specific,
it's cash reserves,
there you go.
okay?
That's what
Cash
it would-
reserves
Yep, if you were talking.
that need to be spent on open
It
space.
says June 30th, though, of 2/12. That was.
That's what's available.
This is a report
Expense.
generated at that
600.
point in time.
Right, so when we spend the
600
CPC,
ties back to here.
when we spend the CPC monies that you voted on,
Yeah.
it's coming out of the monies that were certified from last year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So they have to certify the money as of June 12th.
He just said it doesn't get certified till November.
Well,
But
for the end, for June 12th, ending June
Yeah.
2012.
for the next year.
Right, they certify what the cash, there is now available after town meeting appropriations. This is what this is what all the monies add up to. What has been put aside, that has been voted on, and what is left over in the special accounts.
Okay.
And then we have these, so those numbers equal the 686,103.
133, right?
103. I think.
103.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because it's a typo,
Okay,
There's a typo, whatever. it is.
Anyway.
Okay.
hey,
So,
$30 difference.
you know, it's
So,
just,
and-
I still don't understand
I,
the money that was certified in November of 2012.
yeah.
Where is that?
That's the 686,103. So what they reported in the end of June is what was certified,
Okay. All right.
okay?
Okay.
I actually have just thought of a better idea for our purposes, and I will put it together for us, okay?
Okay, all
Okay?
right.
So, on that note,
Okay,
so
go.
you start with the 680.
Remember what we're working with. These are required forms by DOR.
No, I understand, and that's why we need to
We-
get something.
Mary's gotta go with these.
Right. So we'll
Yeah,
start with.
there probably is a heck of a lot easier way. I really wish there was one. I'd love
I've
to see
already,
it.
I just figured it out, so
This
don't worry about it.
befuddles
I
a
just
good
figured-
number
I
of the
just
CPC
actually
members,
figured out a
believe
way to
me.
do this.
Believe me.
All right, so we'll start with the 686,133 is what we have to work with this year.
Mm-hmm.
You need to take a percentage and put it into admin.
You need to take, you need to take
Admin,
greater
historic-
than 10%
Right.
for historic, greater than 10% for open space, greater than 10% for community housing.
But that doesn't come out of the 686.
Of course it does.
Yes, it does. It comes right off the top.
Yeah. Comes right off the top. It's actually coming out of what we call undesignated, that undesignated number, okay? And once we do it, following on this spreadsheet again, we add it to the existing reserves. Okay?
Do all of these add up, all of the monies that you just spent on projects,
I'm
do they
sorry.
add up to 686,133?
I missed you, I'm sorry.
All of the money that you have designated or recommended for
Right.
projects,
Right.
they add up to 686,133, right?
This year, yes, the.
So
the
how could some
preservation-
of the undesignated money come out of the 686?
I'm following it.
The 10%,
I
the
gotta put something
60,
together.
can I explain it?
Yeah, go ahead.
The historic reservation that we're proposing, the $65,000,
Right.
okay? That goes and gets added to what we started our reserve balance for with historic. See, we had 68,699. We're adding to that 65,000.
Okay.
Okay, and we're saying, here's our new historic reserve amount, okay? Then, what we do is, we're recommending 26,700 for the community housing, and 100,000 as a grant to the AH Trust. That leaves, that means we spent we're proposing to spend $126,700. And right here, Reg, where you see it? See it? Remainder in housing reserve, that's how much is left over. That 5,000, what is it? Six.
The print is so small, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the only way it fits on
Okay,
the sheet, sorry.
866 or
This is,
something.
we're at this on the spreadsheet.
Or
right?
eight, yeah.
Right here,
886,
Rick.
I don't know.
Right here. Jim.
Five, oh, I see it, yeah.
See it? And the number immediately above it and to the left is the total amount that we're proposing to spend from that reserve. Once we've added the 65,000. The reason we add the 65 first is we're required to do the 10% reservation for each of these categories. And for the most part, what we do is we get that out of the way at the very beginning, just in case any or all of our other proposals and recommendations fail on town meeting floor. We will have satisfied the law.
I'm sorry, Gary, I was just adding up the numbers.
No, I just want-
Yeah. You're just trying to
Saying
follow
like
along.
what you're taking right here.
Mhm,
as
65,
open space.
greater than
If I can
10%.
just make it maybe simpler, flip it over, and you're adding that to line 3 on the very back.
Exactly.
Okay,
Piece of
Okay.
cake, huh?
Yeah.
When, yeah,
Take the front page, flip it right over, he's adding it to those columns in the back.
yeah, that's what we're proposing. Add it to those numbers.
and I'll give you those numbers right now if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So the new starting balance for open space
Will be 302,753.
plus 65,000.
Exactly, which
So
gives
the-
you
6
367,753. It's the fifth column.
Okay.
This to that.
Mhm.
Get
Yep.
this. Get this to that. You
Okay.
get this.
Okay.
This to that. You get that.
Okay.
Who does this sheet, Harry?
Let's put it this way, the crane doesn't flip over.
We're very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm real good at spreadsheets, so I'm gonna give you a hand on this one.
Go. Yeah, good.
Well, am I
I
glad
need
I
it.
asked the
I
question?
need it.
No,
I need it. And you know, it works for me and it doesn't flip over the crane, but, you know, it's not easy for people, a lot of people to understand.
So, because what you've,
Good.
Certainly
because
no,
the so the undesignated is staying right now at the 247, because we don't have to put that anyplace, that's just,
remember what you've done. You've taken 195,000, more than 195,000 out of it. You've taken 65 three times plus 21K.
so,
admin.
administrative,
Yep, 21K. Has to be, by law, less than
I know.
5%.
What is the balance on that account in administrative, and what's that being spent on?
Balance is zero. It rolls back every year. The end of the year, it rolls back.
Whatever's left over rolls back into?
yeah, and
Okay, so
anything
whatever,
unspent
whatever
rolls
is not
back.
spent
Yep. Anything
goes
unspent
back into the beginning balance.
goes back into the, yes, undesignated for the next year.
Is that like for consultants and engineering?
Yeah.
and Stuff like that?
Sometimes we have to do appraisals for
Yeah,
land.
yeah, okay.
and Things
All
like
right.
that, legal fees,
I get it.
paper clips.
All right.
Okay,
And that's way below the 5%, because we never spend that much. It's just, I think the most we've ever done was, I don't know, 12,000 or something.
is everyone good?
As good as I'm gonna get, I think.
I think,
As good as the good.
I
got it 820 out of 9.
Terry math!
okay.
Let's just go
We're
through
not even
this.
dealing with the friction coefficient, are we, guys?
No,
Come on.
now, no,
We
just to
ain't
make
even
sure,
putting that in here.
I've been trying to figure out for years an easy way to represent this to us, and it just dawned on me
Get it
tonight.
click?
Okay, you
It,
fine,
it dawned
we'll
on me
wait.
tonight on how to put it together,
Okay.
so.
If it clicked.
Okay,
Great, I'm glad to hear that.
And
Please,
so we're
Sandy,
gonna use,
Send it to me so that I can get
just
to
math,
this.
not Harry math, we're gonna do math.
Send it to me so we can do this, we can do,
All right.
I can send it to the rest of the board.
Let's go. B, Housing Authority Community Building. I had sent you an email earlier today, Harry, there
Yep.
was money put to these projects last year.
There was money put to the project last year, yeah. Yeah, I forget
Why
what
is
the
there more money
amount is.
coming out this year for it?
The amount of money and the request that was put in last year was actually greater than the amount that we recommended. This is reflective of, the remainder of the project.
Okay, because you usually phase it, and you didn't put a phase in it last year.
Yeah, well, we didn't throw the word phase in, I guess. But this was,
Well, it comes across as looking like they didn't budget right, they didn't request right, you didn't fund
oh, no, we
correctly,
didn't
you know.
fund right. We didn't fund, we don't always fund exactly what the wish list says. Sometimes, we hold that back and.
So
you know,
were
do
we
that.
short 26.7 or
Well,
were we
I,
over?
can I read to you the
Okay.
suggestion for this year?
Okay.
Suggestion, this was put in by, the Georgetown Housing Authority. Georgetown Housing Authority would like to continue with the community building modernization project that was started last year. The approximate cost is $22,200. We would also like to replace 9 storm doors at our Jewett Street family development. The doors were installed in 1989 and would need to be replaced at an approximate cost of $4,500.
Do you have a funding summary or anything of how much the state has put towards any of these projects on their buildings?
Right, I thought it was a state.
It's a state building.
Yeah.
Why are we spending money on that?
And I guess, I can understand, I think, because last year, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we do something as a community, because it was also gonna be something that could be used in an emergency for a room?
This is all part of that.
Yeah, it was
But the
for
storm doors, what are
um,
the storm doors for?
The storm doors are for 9 storm doors at the Jewett Street Family Development. That's another of the affordable housing developments at,
Are those for individual housings, or is that for
I
storm
believe they're,
doors?
I believe they're like duplexes?
So there's storm doors for individual housing, so it's not a community room that
No, this is, separate and would have to be
Individual units.
separated out in the Warren article that it's a purpose of the community room, and it's also the purpose for, the other affordable housing. And then what they do, my understanding is the Jewett Street, housing complex falls under the housing authority. And it's all, this is what the CPA money's all about.
do you have?
I have here, and I should have copied it, I guess, I forgot you mentioned it. Essentially, they have broken down the updates to the community building.
Yeah, can you get the breakdown get us that breakdown,
I'm
and
gonna send you
also,
this tomorrow or something, or?
yes, please, and also the breakdown for what this 26/7, what comprises,
Right here. That was what
That's
was.
what that is.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what was submitted to us.
okay. If you can send that to us, please.
Yeah. That's easy enough. I'll scan it and send it to you tomorrow.
I mean, it's,
Actually, you know what? I have copies here. I have more than one copy. Can I just give it to you now? And,
Sure.
because I'm not gonna be home tomorrow.
or just give me one copy and I can make copies for everybody before we leave.
That's what I'm thinking.
Stu, if you don't mind running downstairs.
I could run down and get.
That would be lovely, Stu, thank
You
you.
wanna blast out a couple
I
copies
can
too?
make some copies for you.
Thank you, Stu.
Thank you so much.
I am Harry's factotum this evening.
Wow! I don't even know how to spell that.
How many do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll make that.
Okay.
All right. We ask that same question every year. Just how much money has the state given us? Oh, wait,
That's,
nothing.
right, and that's,
Well, they gave us half of.
right, and that's,
Roughly half of what we put in.
right.
That's a
so
good
it's-
point.
Yep,
Give
and
us
that's,
And they
27.
mandate that you spend 10% of
You know.
that whole package
You know,
on community housing needs.
right.
And I can tell you, it's only a fifth what's being proposed, or a little bit more than a fifth of what's being recommended in the very next article, which is just a flat out 100, I think it's 100, is it 100? 100K, $100,000 grant to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Well, it's for me, I wanna know that, yes, these are our residents, but what is the other benefit, what other benefit to the town as a whole is this also providing? And the community housing and things like that, there's a cost benefit there, because if we ever needed a place of an emergency, we could send seniors over there if we needed another, place.
Sure.
Like what a lot of people call it, a heating cooling center for something, depending upon, and not so much a.
Emergency area for.
An
the
emergency
town.
area, other people could go in, it wouldn't just be for that, but yet, then you're getting into the storm doors and other things that are for
private units.
the private
Well,
units.
you know, they're not specifically private units. I mean,
They're
they are
state
state.
subsidized.
Right, I just-
they're
yeah, I just-
subsidized.
What, 9
I mean, they are,
units,
I guess
whatever?
my question is not that I think it's a good or a bad idea, but why isn't all of that, I mean, coming under the Affordable Housing Trust? If you're giving 100,000 to them, why don't you give all of the money to them and let them deal with all of those issues? Why have two different groups?
I don't know if that's.
Dealing
the
with
purview of the
affordable housing,
I
is
don't know
that-
if that's
I
the
can tell you,
purview of the affordable housing.
it certainly is. You're absolutely right, Jim, because one of the things that happened with the generator project, the emergency generator project, there was, when they did the initial estimates, they didn't, the housing authority didn't realize that they needed full-blown engineered drawings to do the bid and the install. Thank you,
Yours
sir.
back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stu.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you
They
very
ran
much.
shy of about, I forget what it was, because it didn't, really apply to CPC. We only knew that they ran out of money, and we couldn't, cut checks anymore, because they finished. But I believe the Affordable Housing Trust gave them $8,000, and you're gonna have to check on that. Thanks, man. Did you get one?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I believe the trust just cut him a check for like 100,000. Excuse me, 8,000. But they did that as part of what they do because that's in their mission statement, their articles of incorporation, and that's all part of what the trust can do. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jim. We could just give it to the trust and let the trust worry about and do it.
I don't know, it seems to me that one group of people dealing with one particular issue is the best way to do things.
Mike, can you check on that to see if that is allowed? Or
Yeah, I can.
what's your
You know,
thought on
yeah.
this?
There was a hesitation
Yeah, that
there.
was.
Yeah, I don't think,
Well, no.
I mean, because it's a state building, they don't get involved.
They don't get involved with, yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
get involved with local affordable
Affordable
housing.
housing,
Yeah.
okay.
So
I'll-
is the
It's not in
Druid
their
Street
HPP,
affordable
it's not in their housing
come under
production
them, or is
plan
it
to
just
support
under
it, but it's certainly
state?
not prohibited for them to do it.
Jewett is state-owned, isn't it?
Jewett is, I think so.
I don't know the background to it.
I think it
I,
is.
I believe the land is state-owned land as opposed to the Trestle Way, which is land owned by the town.
Yeah.
But buildings run by the state.
Buildings, yeah, quasi-state, local.
Yeah, you know,
It's unique, it's
I'd be
unique,
interested to see what the
municipal.
breakdown is of responsibility for Trestle Way. You know, part of it is the state, and part of it is the town, but I don't know which part is which. Does anybody know that?
I don't think
I
anyone
don't
does.
think anybody does.
Oh,
I think you would want to talk to
You have to talk to the housing authority, I
the
think.
housing authority, Diane, what's her name? Jodane?
Jordan.
Joden, and you could also speak to Betty Davidson, Elizabeth Davidson. She's the CPC rep, and she's
Right.
on that board. I
Did
think
you get some?
Dave Shower is on it.
I mean, I think that there's nothing at this point for this year, but I think going forward, I think we, you know,
We need to get a handle on
State
it.
it's just, it's,
facility.
I think we as a
The
town has been
state-
very
the state
generous.
governs what we can
but-
do and what we can't do. I don't know. I
By the
just-
same token,
I don't get it.
what is the state's responsibility?
Well, what
in-
we,
in our
we've been doing is picking up for the lack of maintenance by the state.
yeah,
The
yeah.
state doesn't give them enough money to maintain their buildings, and they have to make it out of their rents. And they are limited by what they can charge for rents.
Is it 1/3 of their annual salaries or something like that? or-
Well,
It's a formula.
yeah, but each category of resident has a different
Right.
level. And they've been getting the category of, this is what I learned from Diane, a year and a half ago, because we went over there and, she tried to educate us. And the way I understood it was they've been taking people in that they're not necessarily the elderly, they're
Right.
handicapped.
Yeah.
And they don't get as much from the state for the handicapped as they do for elderly. So,
Yeah, lack
that's the problem, and the
Yeah,
state
lack of
does, and the
funds, yeah.
state doesn't
Yeah.
support them with enough money for,
Maintenance and
maintenance.
stuff, yeah.
Isn't there something in the works? Governor Patrick proposed to regionalize the control and admin of all affordable,
Of all housing
all
authorities.
housing authorities. They're
Yeah, he
gonna
did.
break it
That's-
down
I'm
into
sure that
6
was
districts
mostly
or
for the
something.
big ones, but-
That should mean they'll
well,
get even less money.
Well, they were gonna create 5 regional housing.
Oh, 5? I
authorities.
thought it was 6. Okay.
Maybe 6, but 5 or 6, let's say. But, ours would get rolled in probably with Haverhill and Lawrence
Yeah,
and,
we'd never get anything.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
less than we're
Yeah.
getting.
no.
Okay.
and you have complete lack of local control.
Yeah.
So the way you understand it now is that we own the land and they own the buildings? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not.
I only know we own the land. I have no idea who owns the buildings.
See, I thought the state owned everything.
Okay,
We took
well,
that by eminent
I have a
domain.
question.
But how
Sure.
come we can use
The
CPC money?
Jewish Street's owned by the state.
Because the
right?
way that
You
the
know,
CPA
because
is
it's
written.
one of the
state-owned
questions.
land. I
We
don't
believe
get
The
it.
CPA.
Okay, one conversation at a
Actually-
time, guys.
oh, I'm sorry.
Ed has a question.
Jewish Street's, you're saying basically that you're contributing the money to Jewish Street because the state isn't paying for it where they should be.
We're recommending the 27,000 because the housing authority asked for it.
I guess my question on a go-forward basis, though, is if we're gonna be picking up the state's responsibility, and this establishes the precedent, where does it end?
I don't think it establishes a precedent. I think what it does is it conforms with exactly what the CPA legislation, even originally, even though it's been changed a couple times, originally envisioned. It's, the name of it is community housing, and it had the unique distinction of being the only category that wasn't limited in any way. The verb that was used, if you will, was support of community housing. Didn't limit it to what you could really do with it.
Who owns the buildings?
That's what we
I do
don't.
not know the
No, no.
answer to who
So
owns
we
the
need,
buildings.
we need to find out this information.
Right.
I only
because-
know from,
Because if this is like leasing a building from someone, you end up paying, even though you don't own the building, you end up paying for all the improvements, and you get nothing out of it in the end.
Correct.
yeah,
And that's
I
what
only
this
know-
sounds
I only
like.
know about the land. The town took it by eminent domain a while ago, a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I
and
guess
that's,
we need to either talk to someone
need-
from
we
the
need to get
housing
some more-
authority,
Yeah.
someone, I mean,
Yeah.
to get some knowledge here, because
The flip side is you can look at a question of need and realize that these funds were established for that use.
I think
and
you're
then-
well intentioned, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I just would like to know,
You have to
Whose
know where it all
responsibility
begins
it
and where
is,
it all
that's all.
ends.
Right.
you know?
Always good to
like
know.
that.
all right. Next, Affordable Housing Trust, is this the 100,000 like you gave them last year?
Much the same. Much the same. And I can tell you, in addition to that, not from the CPC, but from the, well, I can't say from the planning board, from the, what's it called? The inclusionary housing bylaw, there is 29,000, somewhere around 29,000 going to the trust because of the way that the Harris Way development, that house is now under agreement and going to be sold at the end of the month. And as part of the in lieu payment for not having an affordable housing unit in the Harris Way subdivision, the agreement with the developer and the planning board was that they would pay a certain percentage of the sale price of the house. And
To go into this trust?
exactly,
Yeah, I remember that.
exactly. And they're getting about 29,000 at the end of the year. At the end of the month, excuse me, the end of the month.
Okay. Any questions on this? Central Fire Historic for 7,500?
Yeah, there are a number of. Robin, you want a water or something?
No.
I have a sealed one here.
She's gonna die, thanks.
Essentially, this is, Rusty Ricker came to us and asked for an amount of money to preserve the historic Central Fire Company antiques. Essentially, what they want to do is make sure that they're preserved appropriately. He showed us some pictures of different ones and.
Is
that's
this
for
is
that.
something outside of the building or
I do
inside
not
of the
believe so. I
building?
believe it's inside the building.
I know they were
This is-
talking about doing something on the outside and preserving something on the outside of the building.
Gee, I'm not
An
familiar with that.
engine or something, I forget.
I'm not familiar with that.
All right.
I'm sorry, I haven't heard that.
Erie Ford did that a couple
Yeah,
years
Erie
ago.
Ford did
Yeah,
it.
Erie.
It was Erie, and it's
Yeah.
down there. If you
Yeah,
you drive
down
by
there.
Erie, there's an
Oh.
engine, there's a
all
display
enclosed.
case.
The old pumper, isn't it?
Yeah, the old,
Yeah.
The old pumper.
The old pumper, isn't
The
it?
old pump, that's
That's,
what
and
it was.
they
Yep,
had a
yep.
building built with air,
yeah.
Air
Control.
handlers and, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
air
sure
control
that-
to keep it.
Yep, refrigeration to make sure it's cold.
Okay, any other questions on the central? Okay. Now we get Historic Brocklebank Museum Restoration and Rehabilitation.
$52,000 from the Historic Reserve. This is to preserve the Brocklebank Museum. The foundation is collapsing, and well, if you don't have a foundation, the stuff up above it kind of falls down.
Does anybody use that now physically on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Or?
My understanding from the Historical Society is that every Sunday in the summer they do chores.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people do use it.
And the school children go there all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be there
Okay,
before this
just
gets
asking.
fixed.
All right.
Didn't we pay for some other restorations for that already though?
Yeah, a
there
couple
were
of
some-
years
there
ago,
were
a
some
couple of
few
years ago we
It
did.
was
I
quite a
think,
few
yeah.
years ago, but
Yeah.
that's closed out. It's been closed out. I think that was back in '07.
Yeah, that'll be all part of the whole summary they'll do.
Yep.
Okay. Camp Dennison Historic Preservation, Phase 3.
Yeah, phase 3. It was only supposed to be a couple of, like 1 or 2 phases, but this sometimes happens.
Yes, Jim.
The estimates were based on residential design. The building inspector has determined that this is,
You gotta be kidding me.
has to be a commercially
Right.
No, you guys are renting it out.
designated.
Right, because you're renting things out, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well, yeah, with the bathroom there, we can rent out those little cabins.
You know
Without the
more than I
bathroom
do
there,
about
we
that.
can't.
What am I, you tell.
I'm not tech savvy.
I mean, it was, I think the estimate wasn't as good as it should have been in the first place to do it, but as Harry said, they planned on using PVC, which is significantly cheaper, but we have to use copper and cast iron and
Gotta be
stuff like
cast.
that. It's a lot more expensive.
Industrial.
Who's the cabins? Who's building and where's the money for restoring the cabins coming from?
It's okay.
They have a revolving
Did it come from the
account, right?
CPC? Yeah.
Was it?
yeah.
Okay.
Fees and
I
stuff,
couldn't-
I don't know.
I know a lot of the money to do the work down there comes from the revolving fund
Yeah.
that we have as well, so.
Okay. And this, Jim, this will actually help.
This will finish that bathroom, completely finish it.
Okay.
There's actually money left in the first one.
Isn't that part of, the state won't let them rent the,
They won't let them rent the cabins to
the
children.
kids until,
The
yeah,
children, yeah.
before the scouts can use it, they have to have a bathroom.
Right.
Within a certain amount for
distance,
ADA.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
state requirement.
All right. Historic documents preservation, 15,000.
This was put by, the Historical Commission. They want to preserve and digitize all of the town's historic records, starting with the town reports, then moving on. And my understanding is after that, they will move to the town meeting minutes, which, has anybody ever seen them? Have you?
Not the older ones, but I've seen how many.
Beverly had some go.
No, I mean,
Back to
the
the
town
1870s.
meeting minutes that are in the vault downstairs.
In the
They're-
vault?
they're-
No.
Oh,
yeah.
sitting in boxes downstairs.
Well, they're
Rotting.
They're
No,
rotting
they're in the
downstairs.
vault, and about Mike, I don't know what was the year when this building had the
Rehab?
yeah
Around
the
2000.
yeah
99, 2000.
no after that there was another report generated for the upgrade, and the consultant had a conservator come in because the town clerk had a study done by Board of Library Commissioners. She got a grant for it, Board of and then the consultant came in, and they looked at the status of the paper records that we're restoring, and they estimated that their usable life was somewhere around 17 years because of the conditions that are downstairs.
Yeah, it is down in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
this is part,
This is
part
this
in
is
the
something that
vault.
we've been talking about for years anyway, right?
You know what? To preserve the physical books would be an amount of money that
You probably
nobody wants to go near.
Right.
Because you're talking about something like the archives in the Vatican with hermetically sealed
No, I think it's probably-
rooms
that's
with
probably
dim
true.
lights.
Yeah,
But the one thing that you don't have to lose is the information.
right.
If you can't save the
So
real
do it
thing.
digitally and
Well, it's interesting.
Save the information.
So, Mike, this is
The ones I
also,
saw that they were
this is what we were talking about. We were talking with
state
ZBA about all the records or whatever. This is taking care of all the very, the largely historical documents as opposed to,
Has nothing to do with like.
What we were talking about for
our
working.
meeting minutes and.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
stuff like that.
Because that's, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Separate.
They're all down there too.
Okay.
By the way,
CPA monies can do that.
if I may,
Yeah.
just point something out, that 2013 is the 175th anniversary of Georgetown becoming a town.
Cut it out.
Really?
Yes,
How come none of us paid attention to that?
I don't know.
How come it's not like all over everything?
I don't know.
What, it's Selectmen, how come it's not over everything?
Hey, yeah, how come it's not all up?
Eighteen thirty-eight.
1838, 175 is 2013.
Wow.
We should do something about that.
I think we should do something about that, Jim.
We need a parade.
Yeah. We need something.
It
You're
looks
the
like you're
headmaster.
volunteering.
Everyone loves a parade.
Okay.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Anything else on
appreciate
historic? Just watching the time.
Some money for the parade.
All right, conservation restriction.
Never miss moments, Joe.
Unfortunately, we spent every penny
Yeah,
this year.
I noticed that.
Yeah, did you notice that? It's a
Conservation
very
restriction.
distinctive year.
There you go.
Community, yes, the Conservation Commission wishes to, purchase a conservation restriction for Wheelerbrook Farm. That's $150,000. That would, place a conservation restriction on Wheelerbrook Farm. It would be a farm in perpetuity,
What does the $150,000 get us?
a conservation restriction.
Yeah.
Why does it cost $150,000?
Because when they originally wanted 200,000, but they
Who's
didn't think
they?
they'd get it.
Who's they?
Who gets the money?
Bob Morehouse.
Bob Morehouse
Bob
gets the
and
money.
Barbara. The CPC voted 3-2 last night to recommend this. They took the final $18,933 from the fund, and they wish to bond the remainder.
But
And I'm probably not the
Right.
right
No,
advocate
no,
to be
It's
discussing
just-
this because I voted against it. So
I don't see any cost benefit for the town
It's,
of paying the
it's
money.
preserving, first of all, it's preserving a business in town. That's the whole idea, is that, to keep a farm going. You know, it's preserving a business, it's a quality of life thing. And as one thing that you shouldn't think of it in terms of giving money to Bob
Right.
Morehouse, because he can sell that land to a developer and get more money.
But then
So
we
it-
have first dibs to buy it. It's under chapter 61.
Well,
And what we essentially are doing here is we are paying $150,000 to give up our right of first refusal. I mean, a lot of people don't mind paying a little bit more every year to subsidize chapter 61 lands. I mean, they don't mind that, with the understanding that at some point, if someone that has a chapter 61 land wants to sell it and change the use, then the town has first dibs. We have 120 days to exercise our right of first refusal. We can buy the land. We're first in line. We would be essentially giving that up, and this would forever be in chapter 61 because the use can never change under that CR.
I mean, but,
an
you know, can
extremely-
the owner decline the offer that
Yeah.
the town gives him?
We have to pay
oh, yes.
market value.
Yeah, right.
which
Pardon?
could very well be more.
No. This CR would run with the land.
No, he's
No,
saying
no.
if he didn't do that.
If you got first refusal, you would have to pay market rates for that land.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to meet the bona fide offer.
And then the town would own that land.
Right, and be able to use it for
Yeah, see, they want to use
whatever
it
use
for,
you want to use it
for
for.
playing fields.
Well, I mean, my concern is that putting this restriction is just that first right of refusal, but the other thing is that we we're essentially giving $150,000.
Well, in a
It-
way,
it
you're
just-
not. It's a transaction. Either you do that, or there's going to be houses there, and again, the town is losing a business. A business that sort of contributes to what the town is. And actually, I think I told you before that I asked the Economic Development Committee, of which I am a member. They were very much in favor of doing this. Of course, it's not their money, but they do agree that keeping a business like that is a good idea.
So what if we do something like this and then make some sort of a requirement to say if it's going to stay a farm, then there should be some sort of lease of the use of that land back to the town, so we can start getting some cost benefit back to us.
Wow, doing what?
No,
Well,
that's
basically-
restricted in the draft restriction that.
Yeah, I don't think because
No.
Essex
I mean,
Greenbelt
because what I'm saying, well, this is not Essex Greenbelt. This is a work.
they would be the ones that would take.
It will
They're
be.
involved somehow.
They'll be the cop.
They'll be the ones that hold
See,
the
this
restriction.
This is I don't see any. I mean, I can see if he wants to put this into restriction, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, fine. Whoever does the farm has to, there has to be some cost benefit for the town for some monies coming back to the town, because we just I know it's just outlaying $150,000 to give to somebody, and my concern is a precedent saying of somebody else now coming up and saying, well, I want to sit there and have, I have a historic house and I think this should be always preserved in historic house, and therefore in order to do that, you can give me a couple $100,000 and I'll make sure my
Hey,
house is done
it's really
historically.
not. Have you ever heard of anyone that put a restriction on a house? I mean, doing it
Absolutely,
on
the
farmland is
Brocklebank
very
Museum.
common.
The Brocklebank
It's done all the
Museum.
time.
Is it
Whenever
doing
a
it on
private
far-
entity gives up some of their
Okay.
rights,
But I mean, it's
their-
very
their
common
land
for
rights.
farms. I mean, it's not like this is a precedence of any kind. It's very common.
I think my concern is that this conservation restriction is very restrictive, and I don't see the cost benefit to the town for
I
this.
guess I don't know.
I'm
I'm not sure what's the cost benefit of any of the land that we buy. There
It's
is
open
none.
to the public.
Well, so it's the same thing though. It's a business. I mean, it may not be open to the public, but
That's what I'm
it's,
saying. No,
it's a
but nobody can
business.
go in and garden on it. That's what I'm saying. Nobody can walk on it. Nobody can do that.
and
I mean,
Bob
it
and
just-
Barbara always have the
This
welcome
is,
mat
let me
out.
put this is nothing personal against
Right,
Morehead.
okay.
This is nothing
Talking
against.
20 years down the road.
I'm talking.
Absolutely,
I'm
that's
thinking
on a
down
mic
the road. I'm thinking
Someone
about.
else owns it, and they have a whole different theory, and now the fence goes up, and we just. pay
Well, 20 years
150.
down the road,
20
by the
years
way,
down
if
the
it's
road,
not
they
a
could-
farm, it
they could
becomes.
start a medical
Doesn't it
marijuana
become public?
dispensary there.
I don't know.
At least generate tax revenue off
That's-
that.
Okay, hold on. Jim has a question.
If at some point that stops being a farm because it has a conservation restriction on it, doesn't that become available to the public? You're gonna just to use, to walk on if you
No, you
want.
don't understand. This is a conservation restriction.
Yeah,
This is a legally binding restriction that runs with the land. Regardless of who owns that land from this point on, they must run it as a farm.
yeah, but what if they don't?
If they don't, then Essex County Greenbelt comes in and drives the hammer down and says you have to.
I don't see how they could do that. It seems to me
Legally.
that it ends up being
They take
like
them to court. It's a court
That's
action.
my question. I mean, it seems like this just now completely locks it, and we don't own it.
Oh, no, this remains private. This is
As
privately
opposed
owned.
to some of the other
You
conservation
get a piece of
restrictions.
paper.
The town owns the
They get
land
it,
at least.
But we can't purchase it at some time. We're giving up our right to purchase it.
No, we
We're-
don't have first right of refusal.
Well,
We can
the
always
thing is-
purchase it, but it still has to be a farm.
It can never come out of Chapter 61, so we'll continue to subsidize it under that, on that thing.
Right.
But it can never be removed from Chapter 61 under the situation that would trigger that right of first refusal.
Is that why you were against it?
Absolutely. I think we've been paying for it for a long time, and don't get me wrong, I love the farm. I've been through the mazes and stuff like that. But
looking down the road.
Looking down the road,
I would
I
have
still
to.
think-
I would
but
have to
again,
get
I have to-
confirmation. I don't see how you could force someone to farm.
Right, now, Gary, you had a question?
I don't know who it might go to, whether it would go to Harry or Jim or perhaps some more houses, but perhaps at some point, if not before you, at that town meeting, we make sure that there's somebody from Essex County Greenbelt that can be there. And perhaps they can explain if they've got some situations like this and how they've been working out.
She did the, was
I
she
can-
at
I
the
can-
meeting?
Yeah, I forget her name,
Vanessa.
Melissa or
Vanessa.
Vanessa from Essex County Greenbelt. And that opportunity to ask these questions will be April 2nd. As you know, all of these things, we have the presentation every year.
Right.
It's April 2nd, it's right here. We'll be pulling the screen down, doing the whole thing.
Right.
And all of the proponents, Steve Przyjemski will be here.
I think
He's a major proponent for this, he's the contact person. And
Right,
and-
I want to bring up the one thing, and then we can close this, move to the next, on the conservation, because we're not voting on any stuff anyway. The other concern is 20 years down the road, so you put this in conservation restriction, Bob sells it to somebody who wants to run it as a farm, okay, and it's always gonna be farm, and they become destitute and they can't do it.
Right.
Then we are actually, and they have to sell it at a loss or completely lose it, we have, it's locked the whole thing up.
I don't see how that could happen. That's a good question. We ought to get
It's
that
just, I
question
mean,
answered.
as opposed to,
Yeah.
we're making a decision for people down the line.
Forever.
I know.
Forever, as opposed, and it's not our land.
Yeah. It
So
has to be
we're
a
putting a
farm.
restriction on something that we don't own.
That's a reasonable question.
So,
right? And we
so
ought
the
to get
question
that
I
answered.
have, is, so we don't beat this like a dead horse, is there something else, other function, as opposed to a restrictive, conservation restriction that would satisfy Bob's want and desire to turn it into.
To keep it as a
keep
farm.
it as a
That's what he
farm,
wants to
but
do.
not keep it as a farm in perpetuity, because in 10, 15, 50 years from now, we're making decisions for people down the line on private land that I don't think we as a town have a right to do, to put a restriction on something like that on private land.
We as a town, Sandra, of course, don't have a right to put a restriction on it. The only person that has the right to put a restriction on any given land is the owner of that land
Okay.
in
No, what
Massachusetts.
essentially the town of Georgetown has done is buy the development rights, right?
There you go, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
The town of Georgetown has
Development
bought the
rights are a
development
bundle of
rights.
sticks,
And-
and we're buying some of the sticks.
And is that appropriate for us to do? Is
I mean,
my
I think it's
question.
not unusual, but that's, that's a good question. Let's get it answered
Okay,
then.
all right.
What happens if they can't farm it anymore?
Or what type
What
of
happens if the
farm?
town doesn't
Then it
want to farm
must
anymore? What
remain a
happens if,
farm.
what happens if the town wants to, be able to buy the land to
Then they
do
can-
something else?
then
What happens
they
if
can buy the
it,
land.
what
They can
happens
buy
if,
the land, but they can
Right.
only use it for a farm.
that's what I'm saying, what if all of a sudden, 10, 15 years from now, Raytheon wants to put in a satellite thing here in town, and this is a perfect piece of property?
It precludes that.
It precludes that. It gets rid of that option for the town.
In perpetuity.
In perpetuity, right. It has taken that option for the town, way past when we're all here, away.
We're paying to have our hands tied.
We'll be paying,
That's,
we'll
yeah.
be subsidizing it, we'll still be in chapter 61.
That's what I'm wondering, if there are any other
Let's,
options
Okay.
to achieve, not to totally dissuade, but to achieve a thing for everybody.
What is the 150 going for exactly? Is that part of the documentation or is that compensation?
no.
It's compensation.
yeah, we're buying the development rights, essentially, so that no one could build a house on it.
Okay.
And my understanding is Greenbelt is contributing an amount of money.
There's some
as
money
well.
coming from them as well, somehow,
I
right?
think it's somewhere around, the grand total ends up at 250 or something, 240, something like that.
So if Bob wants to is very adamant about putting a conservation restriction on his land.
He wants it
can.
to remain.
I'd do
a
it too if
farm.
he gave me $250,000. I mean, I'd put one on mine.
No, but he can still.
I'd put a restriction
sell
on my
that
house
himself.
for $150,000.
But that's what I'm saying, but he
So,
can
you know,
put,
that's-
if he
cut the
wants,
check.
if
Wants
he
it as a
wants to
farm.
put it as a restriction, he could still do that.
Right.
This
Or he
is,
can-
this
he-
is just
he can do that with
for cash.
no money.
That's what I'm saying, that he can do that for no money, and that's, as opposed to us paying for him to do that.
You have the right to put a historical restriction on your home. I mean, you have those development rights of your property. Every landowner does. If you wish to sell or give or lease some of those sticks from that bundle of rights you have, you can. It's your right. You own it. This is America.
Okay. Yes, it is. Now we're gonna move to I.
Great.
I don't want you breaking into song, Harry.
Be saluting the flag before you know it, right?
Okay, high school field rehabilitation, this is synthetic turf.
We heard all about
Yeah,
this.
We did hear about this from the turf committee. So what was the vote that was taken by CPC?
The vote, James Demento voted to, move to appropriate $250,000 from the open space reserve and float a CPA bond not to exceed $1 million to be released at the discretion of the selectmen. The motion carried 3-2.
So that 250 is coming off the top of your,
Yeah.
That is coming out of the open space reserve,
right, so that's,
right? Go back to the sheet.
no, it's coming right off the top. I'm just looking at the sheet, just
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's open
look
space
where it is.
reserve.
Okay, all right.
No doubt about it.
Mike, were you able to find anything out about the bonds for this turf or whatever, or?
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure that that this is bondable. I'm just questioning whether the previous one is bondable.
Okay.
We should chat a little after.
Yeah, we gotta figure that. If we bond it, and the thought process is that what this would do is basically, you have your, like we talked about, that starting number, and you pull
Yeah.
out, that would again be a number immediately coming off the top before
Right,
all the rest
right.
of the projects.
Right.
Whatever that bond amount is.
Right.
Yeah.
Such as like,
Yeah.
the 686, you take off the 65, the 65, the 65, now you take off the 100.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just
Oh,
saying,
whatever
I'm
it
using,
is.
whatever it
Whatever
is,
the
whatever
She's
the
starting
bond.
with
Yep.
Lest people misunderstand this 3-2 vote, there was unanimity.
Unanimous.
Everybody was in agreement
There you go.
that this project move forward and be recommended to town meeting. For the most part, everybody was there for a certain amount of money, a cash infusion at this point in the game. Those two votes that were dissenting, if you will, were for the bond part of it to occur this year. Those two essentially wanted it to occur next cycle.
And
That's
because-
just so people understand it.
Right.
There's a great deal of question right now
Well, how much
about
would
the
would
bonds.
that affect the project? Whether it was
That's,
appropriated
it's,
this year or next year?
It's, I'm on the Synthetic Turf Advisory Committee, and the concern was of a few dollars being put forward, and where there is gonna be a great amount of money being put forward by a private organization, that if all of a sudden, if they invested in it and this project all of a sudden didn't get voted on or whatever, there's, all of a sudden you get a half-baked project. You get stuff that's kinda done, you get somebody who's, kinda has some money, and
That's
that's the
dangerous.
concern, as
Yeah,
opposed
it
to,
is.
as saying, this is the project, we're, it's kinda like voting the school in 3 sections,
Yeah.
you know?
And what happens if people
Don't wanna build,
get cranky and they
First through
don't
third
decide,
grade
they
vote
vote
inside
against
of
it
the
in the
bill.
third vote? That's
Exactly,
right.
so that was the concern, and that was why the Synthetic Turf Committee wanted to go forward with it, the project being all at once, to ensure that the project was, this is it, all the Ts are crossed, the Is are dotted, and we're moving forward as a project as a whole.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reservations that were expressed by the two for this year is that we okay, I'm gonna confuse you a little bit more. Remember November?
You got 30 seconds.
Remember November?
Yeah, I got it.
November's coming in.
Right.
Now, we know we're right along the same lines for the state match that we had last year.
Yep.
Okay, we're right on that same amount. The one thing we don't know is this year, when the 25 million gets added to the CPA trust,
Yep.
what that's gonna give us. So there's a question here of how much, and with a bond, this is a rec bond, max 15 years, you can't go beyond that. And do we wanna go a certain amount of money, 15 years, or are we gonna get 100% match at the end of this year so that we could go 5 years, short term?
But we don't need we don't need the money in the bond right now, my understanding is, correct? So actually, if that vote comes in, the money comes in, you say the money comes in, I would think there's still a timeline that this could be changed, so we don't have to actually bond it right away.
Yeah,
This is the
yeah.
commitment to the project, so say no money's come in, no extra monies have come in, we're moving forward with the project, we know we've got the money. Say more money's come in, we can actually look at that of redoing the funding mechanism and maybe not bonding it for as long, and maybe doing another way because more money has come in.
The idea is a bond. A bond's what's recommended. The question is,
Right.
how long, how much? what's our?
What I'm saying is we don't have to do the bond.
We don't have to do it immediately.
That's what I'm
Right,
saying, we don't have to
until
do it
after
immediately.
November, if you,
Right.
it'd
After
be
November.
later than that even.
Probably later than that,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Which was another concern, we didn't want a
Right.
bond, some people didn't want a bond to happen, on May 8th.
No,
where
I don't think we're
We'd be paying
going.
interest, we'd be paying low.
Oh,
we'd be
We're not,
paying-
no, we're not gonna,
No, you don't
no.
get that.
This is only for, when we do anything for bond, it's only for authorization. When the actual money gets taken out and we start paying for it, that's a schedule that Mike and his department takes care of. And my understanding is right now, we wouldn't need to, you don't need to go bonded on May 8th.
That's correct.
Yes, but
We just
We're-
need the
we're-
authorization to do it sometime down the road.
sometime
Right,
down the road.
that's all. That's just
So now- right,
authorization,
So
really,
now
yeah.
we know,
And
Yeah.
you'd know when that is better than anybody.
right,
Because it's right before you go out to bid. Once you finally through all your permits and you're ready to go put it out to bid,
250 really is
that's
for
when
the
you wanna
permits
do it.
and engineering.
The
It's the
CPC
beginning.
asks that we
It'll probably
really
be
look at these numbers.
the summer of
sit
2014
down
before you need
with
to
you
bond
guys and
anything.
with bond counsel to figure
Besides,
out all these
it-
things, to figure out where
If
that
they do
level
everything,
is,
it's short
as
term,
far
and
as
then
how
when it's
much
done, you bond it.
the fund would want to
could be
commit
later than that.
to each of the given years.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, they
you
are.
don't get to use
Yeah.
all of your money to figure out your bonding capacity. What you get to use is only the local receipts.
Right, just the local receipts.
So
Is that mine or yours?
where that would be and how much of that we would want to be able to commit, because we have to use the 10%, the 10%.
Yep.
We're pulling it out, remember, it's that local receipts.
Right, but as we,
What, 60% of it? But if you take 60% of it, now you're crushing it. So you might wanna go like.
right, we need to look at that. We need to wrap this up, Harry.
This is yours.
American Legion.
American Legion Park.
Well, Hale Park, okay.
There's a new project
This
with
is-
American Legion?
This is
No,
technically two, project suggestions that were,
That'd be in the cover.
were suggested by the Park and Rec Commission. One was for a pavilion, so that there would be shade and shelter out there for rain, for events. The other was for the playground equipment, for the kids. My understanding is, and I'm sure anybody that's been out there knows, there's the little kids' play equipment,
Yeah.
and there's the older kids' play equipment. And it's all, now we're being told, no longer up to, I don't remember the
doesn't matter.
organizational, the letters. But it's not that it isn't safe, it doesn't
Not to the
meet
standards?
certain standards, yes. This would be a very, very nice upgrade to all of the equipment there, all of it. Installation of the, and purchase of a pavilion for it.
Where would the pavilion be, Harry?
My understanding is it would be off towards the side, away from the, what's it called, the basketball field? The basketball court?
Oh, aren't there tennis courts over there, or is it basketball courts on?
No, the tennis courts are, no, you're
Tennis
thinking
courts
of.
are way over.
The
On
tennis
the wrong
courts are way
side.
on, yeah,
Yeah.
you're on the other side. No, head the other
By
way.
the bathrooms.
Go near where the building is, where the bathrooms are.
Yeah.
That corridor.
Go over a little bit to the left, the left. What
Oh,
would that
yeah.
be?
Well, there's already a pavilion
Isn't there a
there,
pavilion there already?
for the concerts.
This is.
No, this is like for
this-
tables underneath it,
Yeah,
right?
this is a covering, this is like a.
Think of Revere Beach, you know all the old pavilions down there? Go way back.
All right.
Way
Okay.
back. Rains at the concert, we don't have to get out the tops and.
Right, yeah, that's
Exactly.
basically the idea, you have someplace. to
All
go.
right, I will put together a spreadsheet for this. Mike, you've handed out draft warrants?
Yes.
Have the selectmen, Harry, thank you very much.
Sure, anytime.
I'm gonna wrap this up. Mike has also been here all day. It's been a long day, because I think the next two meetings we have are gonna be very long and intense.
I'm glad I came to this one.
This is the draft warrant. Have the selectmen voted on all the articles yet or not?
Not all of them.
When is their last vote for all the articles?
Well, when we get, some of them we just didn't have all the language for.
Okay.
And hopefully, well, it has to be before we post the warrant. I think there was only been one or two that we don't have final language on it.
Okay.
We voted it for everything, but like I said, the one or two.
Obviously, Article 2, they
Didn't
didn't
we
vote.
pass on the CPC? articles?
Yeah, all of
Yeah,
those, because
yeah,
you didn't get them yet.
Okay, so next Wednesday, we can at least start casting our votes to get cranking on that.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
I'll do it my
And,
typical, I'll do my typical sheet.
Tight schedule.
We gotta do the budget at some time.
Yeah,
but
no. And do you have updated budget
Updated?
sheets after the meeting on the 9th? Or are you still working on those?
I don't have them updated yet.
Okay.
I was hoping to, to wait for revenue figures,
Yeah.
and nothing.
Nothing's coming
coming
in.
through yet.
Nothing
Okay.
was coming.
yet.
Can you just give us whatever?
Yeah.
All right, and then can we get that before next Wednesday so we can take a peek at that?
Sure.
Thank you. If you want, like, send it to me whenever you want to take a quick look-see over it again for another set of eyes if you want. Harry, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good night, Harry.
See you, Harry.
Stay too late, guys, huh?
Oh, no, don't worry about it.
We're right behind you.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there is no other further business.
No, and that's just, so our next two meetings are,
Next Wednesday, are they?
I think the next two Wednesdays.
The next 2 Wednesdays.
The next two Wednesdays.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't miss these
Um,
Wednesday nights.
Yeah, the next two Wednesdays, and this is when we're gonna be
Longer.
crunch. I don't think it's gonna be that much of a killer crunch. I mean, we really need to
is a
maneuver the
small
things that we've
warrant.
talked, things around, things, the CIP stuff that we want to put in the warrant. We need to start maneuvering those. So that'll be the time, actually, that's why I'll need it electronically too, so we'll put it up on the screen. So as
Okay.
we start, if we have to start moving things around and
We're
adding
gonna do it
things.
here or
Are we
downstairs?
here the next 2 weeks?
I don't remember. I'll check.
We were supposed to be downstairs for this meeting, right?
Yeah, and Mike asked them.
We switched with
Oh,
with the
The 27th, we should,
Housing Trust.
yeah, the 27th, we should be, that's our regular meeting.
They meet up here.
Oh, okay.
No.
Tonight would have been
Tonight's our regular meeting.
Tonight would have been our regular meeting. Third Wednesday.
Yeah, what is David saying? The second Wednesday is Affordable House. Today's the third Wednesday. So, all right, we'll double check. If not, then we'll figure out how to get on the screen or whatever, or even if it's
No,
downstairs.
they won't meet up here any longer. We've made Howard aware that, that they don't need to be up here.
Okay.
And Howard agrees.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah, so the next 2 weeks, we'll crank it out, and we'll get those as soon as Mike gets me sheets and he feels comfortable sending them out to everybody. We'll send them out and come with your sleeves rolled up next week. So as far as I know, we will, do we know when the selectmen are gonna make their final votes on the warrant? This Monday or the following Monday?
This Monday isn't a meeting, is it? Or is it?
Yeah, it is.
It is? Oh,
25th?
okay.
25th. They can, as long as everything's, in order.
But the expectation is, you gentlemen can tell us, the expectation is the articles you've already voted on, you're good with those? So we can make our votes? Because historically, in the past, they've talked about it, but you've never voted on articles individually. It's always been as the warrant as a whole, and we've never known what the warrant as a whole, because we've never known which articles are going through and which aren't.
Now that we've got the CPC, the difficult thing is CIP, which, as you said, looks like.
Which we have to figure out still, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's,
But after CPC, the majority of it we voted on. Are we gonna vote on, do you think, the CPC amendment?
No, because they're gonna have to decide what,
No, CPC.
oh, CPC, yeah,
Yeah, not
CIP, CPC.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no, CIP,
Yes,
Monday, we should be able to vote on that.
yes.
which CIP, what are you talking about? Items that what do you mean by CIP? The CIP
no,
article?
no.
I've seen nothing from CIP at this point.
Right.
Well, there's an Article 4, which is the $50,000, which is the standard article.
There might be a couple of things, but I thought that there was a lot more. I mean, there's a lot more money in there than that, isn't there?
Right, but that'll be,
The police did come forward
Right.
with some things, yes. Okay, so we have seen some things, but I don't know that they're all in the warrants, everything at this point.
I don't know if all of them have to be on warrants.
Is that
If
capital?
it's coming out of a capital
Is that
fund,
capital fund a separate?
No, it does
A
have to
separate-
be, it has to have.
I would
separate
for the
think it would
warrant.
capital,
have to be a
for the
warrant.
capital funds,
Yeah.
but the capital operating line item does not.
Correct.
That's part of the budget.
Oh,
part
I
of the
see.
budget.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
That's why I make sure, there's
I
two
didn't look at
capitals.
At the warrant, is there, in fact,
The capital line item? Oh, yeah. I hope so.
Well, there's a capital
Well,
line item to put
CIP, is there an amount in there?
No, I don't think so.
Well, we put, I thought 300,000 last fall.
I didn't look at it. Chris.
Now, whether you funded anything, I don't know whether we funded anything on the line item.
No, we haven't, and so
So that's.
if we're gonna do the intercom and if we're gonna do the ramp, there needs to be separate warrant articles.
Right,
Right.
Taking money out of the capital
Right.
fund to pay for it.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
Not
Yeah,
seeing
but
all
we need to
all
feed
of
the capital.
Because
fund
we
with some
haven't, we
revenue.
really
Well,
haven't decided on it yet.
No, there's $380,000 in the capital fund because we put 300,000 in the fall. So
right.
we've gotten to the, it seems like we wait till we get the free cash certified. What we've done the last 2 years
Okay, then feed the
is
fund.
in the
yeah.
fall,
Yeah.
make the appropriations into the fund, and then in the spring,
Take it out.
take the money out.
Yeah.
Right, but I guess there's, to Gary's point, but there's no articles in there for those, so you have to reopen the warrant?
Yes.
Okay, so we just have to reopen the warrant to insert those particular articles
We got to deal with the CIP
next week.
next week, very first thing, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. I mean, that way, any of those just,
And then the following meeting, we have to finalize the warrant, right? That'd be-
Yeah,
Yes,
because we're not meeting until after
Yeah,
the
because then
meeting.
we have to post it,
Right.
uh,
Okay.
shortly after the first week of April.
so we will finalize any open-ended things with CIP and anything else to do with the warrant that you may be waiting for from us.
Wednesday.
Direction this coming Wednesday. We will make sure that gets taken care of, so that way on March 31st, you will have all you need in regards to what you need to do on the warrant.
Okay.
Of putting it on, because all you're doing is saying putting it on the warrant or not.
Yep.
That's what this vote is. It's not whether you support it or not.
Right.
That's another vote you guys can take at some other point in time, whenever you want. This is just to put it on the warrant itself.
Yep.
And then we have to, but we'll be making our votes, recommending, because we need to get it into the book,
Right,
so,
yeah, we should.
yeah, okay?
Reggie wants
You're
to go
on.
home. Oh, he's got something to talk about.
No.
No.
He doesn't want to talk
I don't want to talk anymore. I vote that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for joining us.
It's that time, 9.
9/11.